Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. And obviously, this has no football relation to it, but we are going to be watching the sports page with Bob Case. And Bob has a special friend, a guy that he has known for decades, and someone who's really closer like a brother to him that we're going to have as a guest. He's a World Series MVP. He's a multiple All-Star. He's a champion of baseball, a fantastic player. Ron Say will be with us in just a moment. Bob, I'll let you introduce him right after this. First, I want to make sure that everybody knows that this Friday here in Atlanta, Faith with Works has their get-together, and it will be at Woodruff Park on 91 Peachtree Street. It's about 3 or 4 blocks just west of Grady Hospital. It is run by Janine Rice. And on Friday, September 19th at 9 o'clock, Janine is asking for you to help out with the homeless. Faith with Works is here to help the folks here in the Atlanta area. Please, if you have any first aid materials, if you have toothpaste, toothbrushes, shampoo, baby wipes, clean water, a towel, something simple like that that you can donate, they greatly appreciate it. Cash offerings are always accepted. Gift cards, yes, absolutely. But there are so many items that people that are a little down on their luck need. We want to help them out, and so does Janine. You can reach her at Instagram. Her account is It's by Janine, Jennine, all one word. Or you can get a hold of them at 404, 791-4472 to make a contribution. We thank them so much for what they're trying to do, and every little bit helps. So the next time that you consider, would you please consider It's by Janine? Thank you so much. Bob, we got a great guest here today, a guy that I grew up watching when I was a kid. So I brought out my Dodger hat. I could have done a little bit better, right? I got one of the new Arizona, but this is a bogus cap because it's got the Dodger logo on the side. The real ones, well, that's what our guest here today. Bob, please let us know a little bit more about your relationship, your friendship, and obviously your passion for baseball and knowing a guy like Ron Say.
Hi, Harper, and hi, Ron, and welcome to everybody. I just wanted to say that to Ron Say, let me just tell you this. I was at the first Dodger game, April 18th, 1958, okay? Now, I never knew much about geometry or algebra, but one thing I knew was Dodger baseball, and I studied the history. The greatest third baseman in the history of the Dodgers in Brooklyn was Billy Cox, okay, of all the years they were in Brooklyn. The Dodgers' first baseman, the game I went to, was Dick Gray, and the first third baseman ever for the Dodgers. And then they had Jim Baxis, and they had, I could go run through. All I can tell you is
Ken McMullen.
Yeah. All I can tell you is the greatest third baseman in the history of the Brooklyn Los Angeles Dodgers is right there. And I watched him. I saw he came up in 1970 briefly, and I think I met him for the first time in 71 when I was down there with Casey. But I can just tell you this: he was the consummate. And it's hard to say that a guy like him is underrated, but it's unbelievable. This guy carried the Dodgers. He would get in a hitting streak. He might just hit 240, 250 then all of a sudden he'd go crazy. And I mean, he would get like 15 RBIs in 8 days. I mean, when he was on one of those streaks, nobody, I don't care who it was, could stop him. And he was known for that. He was like a solid, I mean, it's 6-time All-Star. He should have been actually in more. They finally recognized him this year as the Dodger legend, along with, Don Newcomb and Maury Wills and those guys. And I'm so glad to see he and his wife, Fran, and his family got to enjoy that. I sure enjoyed it. In fact, I'm not a bobblehead guy, but I got a bobblehead of him for the legend, which I really like. But anyway, it's been an honor knowing Ron, and he's a classy guy. He's always carried himself with dignity and class through all the stuff he's been through and everything. And I've just, Al the Bull Ferrara, who we lost last November, he loved Ron. He just loved him. And, we were meeting for lunch for, 10 years at Paul's Kitchen down, and I got to really know Ron even better then. And there's nothing not to like about him. That's all I can tell you. And I'm honored to call him a friend. I really am, sincerely. And I've met them all, but this guy is a class act. He carried himself with class and dignity through 17 years in the big leagues and after that. So I'm going to let him go on. This is going to be like a fun thing for me just to walk through history and listen to you guys I know Harper's got some great photos he's already showed me, which I can't wait to see. Anyway, that's it for me, but I'm happy to be a part of this. And Ron, you know I love you, buddy. Ciao.
Bob, that's all you got to say?
No, hey, Ron, I could talk for 8 hours about all the crap, the Carlton homer, the getting hit in the head, and I was there. I was watching all that stuff.
Thank you so much. That's quite an introduction. You should be my publicist, public relations guy. Harper, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure being with you guys today.
Well, you're very welcome, Ron. And, I have this as one of the key mementos. The first time anyone, and it doesn't matter what age you are, one of the three jewels of baseball is Yankee Stadium, I would say Fenway Park, and of course Dodger Stadium being another. And you got to call that home for so much of your life that we want to talk about that. Ronald Charles Say was born in Tacoma, 1948. Is that right? On February 15th. You're a baby boomer, Ron.
I am, I guess. I don't really pay attention to these tags that they give people, like Generation X or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I grew up in a small town back then, not necessarily a small town to rural America, but about 125,000 people, third largest city in the state of Washington, 30 miles south of Seattle. I've really had a great time growing up in that area. It was kind of calm and peaceful, and we didn't have any cell phones, and we didn't have any computers. We had landlines, we had payphones. We didn't have any air conditioning in our cars either, because it never got that hot. Got about 85 degrees, maybe tops in the summertime.
No seatbelts in the back seat. Were you sliding when you?
No seatbelts. Yeah. I was working when I was 12 years old for my dad. Wow. Up until the time that I graduated from high school, and of course, back then we had the Vietnam War in the mid '60s. And that was when I was in high school. And of course, for me to have this childhood dream of becoming a Major League Baseball player, there was a bit of an issue. I was drafted out of high school by the New York Mets, and also had a baseball scholarship to go to Washington State University. And the decision became rather clear back then, because if you weren't protected by a school deferment, then you were probably going to go to boot camp and AIT, and then you're going to go off to Vietnam. So that's not exactly what I wanted to do when I was 18 years old. So I took my baseball scholarship and went to Washington State, and then signed 2 years later with the Dodgers.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Ron Say is one of those crossword puzzle names that saves, I'm sure, many a creator of crosswords. There's a few other names like that, but what's your background? Is that Eastern European? Where does Say come from? And talk a little bit about that, because I want to kind of correlate this a little bit. Your body type. I know back in those days there weren't a whole lot of heavy weightlifting guys, but your stout thickness and everything that was a part of that, I think your strength and your quickness was really an added benefit to you in your baseball career, because you were able to do so many things and hit the ball harder and all that kind of stuff. But as a young kid, were you the skinny guy in the group with all the guys when you're playing wiffle ball or with the tennis ball in the backyard? What was that like for you early on?
I was not a thin kid when I grew up. I started playing football when I was, 8 or 9 years old, wearing the pads. And so I don't know, I guess I was, about 80, 90 pounds at that age. So I was, fairly good sized kid. When I ended up graduating from high school, I think I was pretty much my full grown adult size. I didn't grow anymore, gained some weight, but I didn't, I did not grow any bigger. And so, I had some pretty good size in the beginning. I was always athletic. I played everything when I was growing up. I grew up in a boys club, and my dad took me over there, I think when I was maybe 6 or 7, and kind of threw me through the front door and said, I'll pick you up at 4 p.m. And so I became a fixture at the boys club, and I got to spend a lot of time with the guys playing the sports, but I also was there when the doors opened in the morning, especially when school was not in session, and there on the weekends. But I became part of the deal. I was a kid that swept the floors and mopped the floors and answered the phone and took reservations and handed out towels and equipment, and in my spare time I would play all the rest of the sports. But I had a group of kids that we used to hang out with, and it was a lot better than the alternative, let's put it that way.
Sure. So you were really a gym rat in many respects from the earliest days of your life, I would guess, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. When I was I would say maybe 8 years old, maybe 9, maybe 10, I'm not exactly sure. But I was playing, as is in my book, a game on a Saturday morning on the number 1 field at the boys club. And it was probably 10 o'clock in the morning, nice, cool, crisp day, probably 70 degrees. And I had my first and only epiphany. And it was that, God, wouldn't it be great to be able to play this game every single day?
Yeah.
And kind of from that moment on, it was, a dream that I pursued, and became a reality.
It's an interesting phenomenon, I guess you could say. You knew, how old were you? 8, 9, 10?
Somewhere
in there.
Yeah.
That not only was I good enough to play with the other guys, were you playing with older guys also? I mean, I'm sure there's
that happened. Well, I mean, some of these leagues that you have, it might be 10, 11, 11 and 12.
Yeah.
So you're going to play in that league for maybe a year or two, and you're the younger kid in the group. But as it turned out, when I got to be 16 years old, I had already played, I think, Connie Mack, or whatever it was back then.
Yeah.
And, I had a big summer, and, so what's next in line to do this again? And I said, I don't want to do that again. I mean, if I'm pursuing, a career, I have to, play above. So I had an opportunity to play semi-pro baseball. And I did. And, a lot of people said, oh, I don't think you should do that. It might be too difficult. And, hey, look, I just got done hitting 480 last summer, with all this stuff. And, if I'm going to get better, I'm going to have to, face some competition that's going to get me out a little bit more than that,
Okay.
And so, I went down there, and hey, guess what? I hit 330 when I was 16 in a semi-pro league, and played against some guys that were in college and some other guys who had professional experience. So, I wasn't as successful as I was the year before, but you know what? I'm hanging in there, 16 years old.
Yeah.
And so, I came away with it, feeling really good about it. And, it was just a progression and a step forward to be able to do that. So, it was I had to play above at some point. When I played wiffle ball with the kids, my kids, my friends, I batted left-handed. And
Did you really? Okay. Yeah.
I batted left-handed because I don't want this to sound like it might, but if I was batting right-handed, it wouldn't be fair.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to make sure that we played, and also it would give me an opportunity to say, hey, listen, let's just try this, And so I had a lot of fun hitting left-handed. I was Mickey Mantle, I was Yogi Berra, I was Ted Williams, I was Roger Maris, I was all these guys, And of course, my number one guy was Willie Mays, and I tried to emulate him when I was 10, 12 years old, and hit like him. And that's another story by itself. But
Sure.
I had a lot of fun with it. I really did. And when the competition, got a little better, then I would switch back and hit right-handed. But I remember we had this little league that I had with a friend of mine, and my baseball coach when I was 12 years old was the starting fullback for Lincoln High School, and he was 18 years old. And we would play tennis ball in the backyard of one of my friend's houses. And we had a league going on, and I just tore him apart. I mean, I was hitting balls over the yard and over the houses, the streets. He couldn't beat me. He was so embarrassed when he was 18 years old and he couldn't beat me in these tennis ball games. It was great, though. We had a lot of fun. It was just a growing up process that I remember. It was only about 4 blocks from my home. And, we had a lot of kids that kind of grew up together. Small town, going to the boys club, went to the same schools. It was a lot of fun.
A brand new tennis ball is terrible because it has too much fuzz on it. You get some of that fuzz to get knocked off. You can throw a curveball that almost goes as far as what a wiffle ball curveball. Maybe not quite the same, because a wiffle ball curveball, it'll start on outside your body and it'll go right over the middle of the plate.
Well, that's another thing too that I really enjoyed, is because the wiffle ball was doing things that normal baseballs don't do.
Ever.
Okay? And so I'm saying, wow, this is great, man. I have no idea where these things are going, you know? And these guys would hold them in different ways. And, you got breaking balls that are breaking 3 feet, fastballs that automatically just kind of take off and spiral away and up and in, down and away, whatever, without even trying. It's just moving all over the place. So actually it was great because, I got to track a ball that was harder to track. And so it helped. It all helped.
Yeah, and your bat is the size of maybe 2 toothpicks, not just one. But you get the little yellow bat. But the fun pitch for me was the guy who throws sidearm, and it basically looks like it's going to skip off the ground. But if the wiffles are pointed down, then it'll rise up and it'll hit you right underneath your chin. It's amazing how the aerodynamics of that. But it also teaches you, like you just said, Ron, to follow the ball. And when it doesn't break that much in a high school game, you're going to hit 480, aren't you?
Well, there's 8 guys out there defending, and that's why it's such a tough game. Baseball is the one sport where you have less success metrically than you do in any other place. You look at baseball, and let's just say at the major league level, let's take batting average. If you hit 300, which there's only one guy in the National League today, by the way, that's hitting 300 that's qualified. And there's only 5 guys in baseball, I think, other than that in the other league, the American League, that are hitting 300. And that puts you in the 1 percentile. And to think that you can be considered to be the best of the best and in the 1 percentile, and you fail 70% of the time is spectacular. I mean, if you were to shoot free throws, if you were a quarterback completing 30% of his passes, you probably wouldn't be playing the game.
You're on the bench. Yeah, there's no room for you on a Friday, Saturday, or a Sunday. There's no room. None at all. Hey, let's talk a little bit about other athletics that you were a part of. You said you played football, you played some basketball. Go into your high school days just a little bit. What was something that you gained out of Mount Tahoma that I had a great time? I had a blast doing something else. I really enjoyed this, but I also got to focus on what I really wanted to do, my life's work, which was baseball.
Well, I mean, we grew up, at least the kids that I surrounded myself with, we were, when it was time to play football, you played football and basketball and baseball. And those are the 3 that we played. Sure. And those were the 3 that were, basically offered at the boys club. Did play soccer, but it wasn't a big game back then like it is today. Enjoyed soccer. I played, I even put up, I had boxes at my house, and we had a a sidewalk that was probably a block long or so, and it was carved up into probably a little bit bigger than 3-foot squares or whatever, something like that. And I used to, like I said, track and field. I loved to run, and I put up the boxes, and so I would start doing hurdles, and I'd time myself for 100 squares, and I would always challenge myself. I was very good at entertaining myself with things related to sports.
Sure.
I made up games, dice games with football, basketball, and baseball. And kept track of it and had leagues and whatever, and spent a lot of time doing that to entertain myself. Really enjoyed it. Back then, I was following the history of baseball as best I could. Like I said, no cell phones, no computers. You got to go dig it out. And I could go back probably to the 1930s. When in 1955 was about, I'm 7 years old, I'm starting to get really interested in the history of baseball. I think it was the first team I could name the starting lineup and the pitchers was the 55 Milwaukee Braves or something like that.
Wow. Okay.
And I can still do that, but I could go back to about 1930, and that's the time of Jimmy Fox and Ty Cobb and Babe Ruth, and Lou Gehrig came a little bit after that. But I kind of knew the names of the players, and then of course the Yankees in the early 50s, and the Brooklyn Dodgers. Actually, the very first baseball game I ever saw on television was a game from Ebbets Field. It was the Dodgers. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but it means something.
Sure.
And the very first game I ever went to, professional game, was up in Seattle. It was a Pacific Coast League game between the Seattle Rainiers and the Spokane Indians. And that's when Frank Howard played for the Spokane Indians. And it just so happens that Spokane Indians were the AAA affiliate of the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Sure.
So first baseball game I ever went to, Dodger related. First game I ever saw on TV, Dodger related. Like they say, irony, whatever, but there's something about that because of where it went in the future.
What was it like for you, Ron, when you smell the grass and you get the hot dogs and somebody's asking you if you want peanuts or a program, and you get to see the field for the first time, and it was just the emerald green and everything about that, the scoreboard? Was there anything magical like that for you, or was it just another game?
No, actually, there was something magical that happened. There was there was Frank Howard.
Yeah,
Frank Howard was. I was sitting right off the.
How old were you at this time? I'm sorry, real quick. How old were you?
10 maybe.
How big was Frank Howard to a 10-year-old?
Well, he was 6'7" then, and
he's enormous, right?
Well, there's this monster that's walking up to the batting circle, and I'm sitting right off the batting circle on the visitor's side. So this guy, and I'm looking and say, this guy's really tall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, he was a very, very big, intimidating person, and he went to the plate, and I don't remember which time it was that at bat it was, but he hit a line drive back at the pitcher. And here's what went through my mind in these few seconds. Oh my God, he just hit the pitcher with a line drive. Oh my God, it's a base hit to center field. Wait a minute. The center field, it went over his head, and then it bounced off the center field fence 420 feet away, right? And it caromed right back to the center fielder. And I'm saying, oh my God, can you believe this? And he only got a single. And then another time at bat that he did, he hit a foul ball. He hit it out of the park and across the street.
Yeah.
And at Old Six Stadium in Seattle, there's a street that would be behind like a freeway, but we didn't have freeways back then. So it was called, Highway 99 or something, right? So anyway, he hits this foul ball and it kind of just disappears down there. And anyway, it was just, I remember that of all the things. I don't remember who won the game. All I know is that I had a great time at the ballpark, and I got to see Frank Howard.
Yeah. And a jaw-dropping moment where I cannot believe how far he hit that baseball.
Well, not only that, but the one that he hit back through the pitcher's mound. I'm saying, oh my God, all of this, it was just a line drive, and it just went zoom.
Yeah.
And of course, back then, I mean, he was hitting balls like Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton hit balls. I mean, these guys are just hitting balls out of the stadium these days.
Yeah.
Much like Canseco and McGuire when I was playing too. I mean, I've never seen guys hit the ball further than these guys.
Yeah. There's something different. And no disrespect, when Hank Aaron would hit a home run, it would go, let's say it's at the 395 mark in Dodger Stadium, which was pretty deep, right? It's one of the deepest parts of the park. And the ball's going 398, right? It's just barely going over the fence. No problem. It's still a home run. And McGuire's hitting balls that are bouncing off the scoreboard, in Busch Stadium. It's just amazing.
Well, yeah. But I mean, in all fairness, they used to say that about Henry all the time. Henry hits them just over the fence. And 755 times he did that.
Yeah.
But as far as McGuire and Canseco and these guys, I mean, you look at Aaron Judge today. Look at Aaron Judge. He's what, 6'5", 275, 275.
Big dude.
I mean, he should be hitting the ball out of the ballparks by mistake.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a very big man who is extremely athletic and very strong. And he is supposed to hit the ball a lot farther than you do. These ballparks actually, for him, they ought to have new dimensions, because it's not exactly fair the way that it is.
They do it in golf, don't they? They're always looking for a way to, if we can stretch this and make it 30 yards longer, it becomes a par 5 or whatever, because the kids are hitting it so hard today. I wanted to bring up high school again. What was it about high school and playing at that level that got you the confidence to be able to go, I love what I'm doing. I want to be I'm getting drafted, and I'm also getting an opportunity to go play in college. Coaches, assistant coaches, one of your teammates, it's a little bit of all of that. What was the combination for you like, where you were able to get not only the confidence, but you were able to get the skill levels and fine tune it to the point where everybody, even in Major League Baseball, was going, we want this kid now?
Well, I don't know if I really wowed, all the scouts or anything, as I had thought of myself. I always had that confidence. I mean, you run into obstacles all the time. He's not big enough. I wasn't that big. When I was in high school, I, was 5'9" and about 175 pounds. That's not, exactly, an athlete of stature that is going to get your attention. I mean,
you're not sticking out like
it's not like when Wilt Chamberlain walks in the room, you ought to automatically identify it.
Hey, do you play basketball, guy? We got a spot for you.
But I was fortunate. I did play football. I was good enough to be an all-star player in football. As a matter of fact, my senior year in high school, and I think it's overrated, simply because I've had a chance to look over these things over the years, is that my senior year in high school, I was the number 1 rated high school running back in the state of Washington. And, I was in the Street and Smith magazine, although I can't ever find that edition. They're not there. I've tried my best to find out if, I just wanted to see it again. And I can't pull it up. Maybe somebody out there can go back to 1966 and find the magazine right before the high school season started that had 100 best running backs in America. And I was one of those. And I don't think I was, because obviously, based on my nickname, I had a football nickname back then, and Scooter. My sophomore year, which was my first year of eligibility in high school back then, because we only had 3-year high schools. It was the first play of the game and like my third game, and I ran 77 yards and I was weaving all over the place, and finally went down the far sidelines for a touchdown, and that's where I got my nickname Scooter.
Okay.
And I didn't run 100 meters in 10 seconds flat. I didn't have world-class speed. All these guys in football that run really well do not have that kind of world-class speed when you're talking about the people who actually run these sprints in track and field. They're nowhere even close to being that kind of fast. But when you run a 10.6 100 meters, and that's fast for everybody else.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I didn't have that kind of speed. I was athletic. Basketball, I could play basketball. One of the things that I did really well was shoot the basketball. When I played high school basketball, I led the league in free throw shooting every year. And one year I led the league in field goal percentage. I could do that pretty well. That's probably the second best thing that I did. And I really thought that football was probably my second best sport for a long time, but I really believe it was probably basketball, if you can believe that.
Yeah, well, if you can shoot, or my thing is, if you can dribble, you can play. I'll find a spot for you. If I'm a coach, if I can see you dribble, you can play.
Well, there was when I was in junior high school, we had a jamboree, which is a preseason thing where all the schools that are in this league will go to one school, or it might have been Wilson High School or University of Puget Sound.
And you all scrimmage each other, right? You play.
Well, it would be open. It was a big deal, and you'd play a quarter against each other. And then the team that won would move on, and there'd be like 3 or 4 quarters or 5 quarters or whatever, and it was kind of fun. It was kind of like just a preview of what was going to go on, and we didn't do this much, but I dribbled behind my back and to get away from somebody, and it's like, oh my God, did you see what he just did?
Yeah.
And our coaches saying, don't do that. We don't
come sit over here. We're going to discipline you by not letting you do it. Then everybody does it today, but that was something that
I mean, these guys dribble between their legs. They have all kinds of moves. They go behind their back. They do the ball handling in today's basketball starts at the high school level, college level. They're all adept at handling the basketball. You have to be able to use both hands adeptly. Yep. And we couldn't do that in high school. There were only a couple of kids that could do that. And so it was pretty much basic, two-handed passes, don't dribble behind your back. Don't do anything fancy. Let's not make mistakes. Let's play it really conservative. And, we would have, slowed down offenses. We'd score, 60 points in a game or so. Much different than today's game, because they just run up and down the court.
Two hands, thumbs follow through, bounce pass, always have the right. Go around and lead with your foot and make sure you protect the ball always. Well, you play baseball.
A ball on the top of the hand had to be on top of the ball. You can't cradle it like they do today.
Yeah.
And then they have the Euro step also, if you remember now. So, I mean, it's like there's a lot of things that have changed. You got the 3-point line. You've gone through all the changes where you remember when they used to you had a foul shot 3 for 2. You get 3 shots to make 2 back then. That was a
bonus. Yeah, absolutely. Right.
Now that's not, one-on-one. You got bonus shots now. You got all kinds of different things going on. There was no shot clock back then. In high school or college, I believe. That's
4 quarters. You had a 60. You'd have a couple of games if you were playing against a team that was either bigger, smaller, fast, whatever. You could have some 20 to 18 finals.
Well, we had one team my junior year in high school. We had a really terrific basketball team. We weren't big, but we were quick, and
you can run.
We set a city record by going through the regular season undefeated. And we're ranked number 2 big school in the state. And we had a team that felt that the only way that they could have a chance to beat us was to stall. And so they went into stall tactics. And I think the final score of the game, because it actually opened up at the end because they were so far behind, we won 32-15.
Wow.
And yeah, it was like maybe 10-6 at halftime. I don't remember, but it was we're just standing out there saying, when are you guys going to try to do something? And but anyway, it was the next time we played them, they realized that they couldn't win that way either. So we played a regular game, and it is what it was. But anyway, it was. I had a great time in high school. Obviously, it helps to be very successful, and we were. And our baseball teams were really good too. So and we only played like 18 games. That's all that we could get in because of the weather.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Now, if you don't play 30, it's not enough in AAU and everything else that's associated with that. But I would imagine going straight from football, the day the football's over, first day of basketball practice, when basketball's over, you're already over there at the baseball field. And was that an easy transition for you, or did you need to ramp up a little bit? Like, was there a local cage where you could hit, or did they have a pitching machine somewhere? Nothing? No? Just you.
We used rubber-coated baseballs.
Yeah.
Because of the weather. And in order for us to go out and take batting practice when it was raining out or the field was wet, we had to use rubber-coated baseballs.
Yeah. They wouldn't get wet, would they? Yeah.
Well,
I mean, they get wet, but they didn't get soggy like a baseball.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what we did when we had bad weather. We go out and take batting practice. We didn't have batting cages back then. It was pretty much you had to do it by yourself. It was difficult. The coaching, we didn't have a lot of coaching. In football, we did not have a program, summer program. We did not have any weightlifting. We did not have any film. Anybody who wants to try out for Mount Tahoma High School, be here at 8:00 on Monday morning. Yeah. So, and my friends which were the kids, that I grew up with playing, 8, 10, 12 years old, all over the city were the same kids. And so, we had a downtown boys club, which was predominantly black. And I had played against these kids, and they predominantly went to, a lot of them went to Lincoln High School, more so went to Stadium High School. And they had their, pretty much their black boys club downtown. It's called the Tacoma Boys Club. And because I'd been playing against these guys and we were friends, they said, hey, why don't you, come on down, and play at our club. We'll shoot some hoops and play around and whatever. So a couple of these kids that I had become better friends with, I rode my bicycle about 5 miles away down to the boys club, and I, put it up outside and walk in and go to the front desk, and I'm saying, hey, I'm looking for Travis and Bobby. Can you page them or, whatever? So you hook up. And then there was a bunch of black kids around, and it's like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And I said, oh, I just came down to shoot some hoops with Bobby and Travis. And he says, oh, Bobby and Travis? I said, yeah. He says, oh, well, you're good.
Come on in. Yeah.
So, I mean, I always had, a good time, playing against them and playing with them. And, Bobby Moore, who became Ahmad Rashad,
yep, absolutely,
was going to my boys club, and we actually played high school football and basketball together. And he's a kid that I used to hang around with at the boys club too when he was growing up. He was a year younger than I was.
Okay.
And so, I'd always had, black kids to play with. So, they were just my friends. That's what it was. It wasn't anything. It didn't matter whether you were black or white. It was, these are the kids that are playing, and these are the guys that I'm participating with and competing against. And it was challenging. It was great.
Yeah. You fit in with them and they fit in with you. It was, hey, you can play. That's all you can play.
And I think it's a good perspective about, you're kind of thrown together. You didn't sign up for this this class, we're all doing it the same. So anybody can come in and join, and you're working with each other. That's one of the things that about playing on a team that is important. You have, there's probably some people on your team that, you're not great friends with. It doesn't mean that you have to go have a party with them after the game, but you do have some friendships that blend in there. And it doesn't matter, we're all playing for the same thing. We want to win. We want to play well. So we have to work together to make this happen. I got to throw the ball to you and you got to throw the ball to me. And that's really where I think that I learned that, we can all work together.
Yeah. I mentioned Bobby Moore. He ends up going to Oregon.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that relationship. And you mentioned some of the politics that were going on earlier, the Vietnam War, some things that were a very important part of a 17-year-old kid's decision-making process. So talk a little bit about that, and then how you ended up getting to be a Cougar. And I would imagine that was a desire. Would you have also wanted to be a Husky, but they didn't want you at the program? Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh no, I was recruited by Washington. But it would have been a better school for me to go to, in theory, for football. Washington State had the best baseball program outside of the state of California.
Yeah,
on the coast. They had a history and tradition, and I had a bunch of players that I played with in high school that went over there and played baseball before me. And so when it became time to do that, I was destined to go to Washington State. And we didn't have freshman eligibility back then. That was the old Pac-8.
Yeah.
That's when Lou Alcindor was at UCLA, who became Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And it's nice to say that I've had a long relationship, a friendship with him for years and years. And I don't see him often, but when we do, it's always kind of nice to see him and how he's doing. He's an incredibly intellectual guy.
Yeah.
And it was at the same time that, he had to play freshman basketball at UCLA. And of course, the story behind that. And, it was a period of adjustment. I had my sights on my sophomore year. That was my year of eligibility coming up, and I needed to have everything in order. And it worked out as best it could, but it was an opportunity that I had to make sure. I flirted with it. I really didn't. I didn't handle my my years of academics the way that I should have, especially with the Vietnam War staring us in the face. I kind of teetered in the middle of the fence, and I should have just went out there and just, made a full-blown effort to make sure that, I've got everything in order. And, when you're young and you're 18 and you're a little naive and you're kind of using this as a vehicle to get to your next destination, things can, go sideways a little bit. And they did, and I had to regroup. But, I had to start feeling that I'm not missing out on anything by, not being at home. It was my first time away from home. I had to get readjusted. And it's also one of the decisions that I had to make too, is I really didn't want to be away from home for the first time and tackle my profession at the same time. I felt that might be a problem. So by going to school, it gave me an opportunity to live in a fraternity and get myself together and learn how to do things on myself. Mom and Dad weren't going to do everything for me, and also, keep in line with the Vietnam War. And, so eventually when I did sign, I had to, again, protect myself because I had to be back in school. So the next year I missed all of spring training. And so I finally enlisted and got into a reserve unit. And I was a medic. And the following year I had to go do my basic training in AIT, and I missed all of spring training again.
Wow.
So that was an issue that I had to deal with. But by serving my country and in this manner, it gave me an opportunity now to fully exploit my career goals.
Okay. Yeah, you got to see the other side of the fence of what you didn't really want to do, but had to be prepared for just in case. Also, wasn't Coach Brayton? He was a Marine himself, wasn't he?
I'm not exactly sure if he was a Marine or not. It could have been, but he was a baseball ambassador back then, and he was really the one that won me over. He was a guy there you see with Rod Dato. Had a terrific relationship with Rod too, and his family and his son Justin. We had a really good club, and we beat everybody in the Pac-12 that year. We were ranked as high as 8. USC and Stanford were ranked above us at 1 and 2, and there were no regional tournaments back then. The team that won the Pac-8
Pac-8, yeah.
got a direct bid to the College World Series, and the other 2 teams got to go home.
Oh my God.
USC was the one who won the championship, and they ended up winning the national championship. So we had something to say about that.
Yeah, that's not the way you want it to go, is it, Ron? We beat you during the regular season on numerous occasions. We beat everybody that we needed to, but we didn't get in.
Well, I mean, we would have probably been, I don't know if we would have made it all the way to the College World Series. I have a feeling that we had the ability to do that because the nucleus of that team, the 2 summers that we played, waiting for, my senior year in high school, waiting to be a freshman, and then after my freshman year, waiting to become a sophomore. I played for a team that Bob knows, the Cheney Studs. And we ended up winning our league, winning the state championship, winning the regional tournament in Portland, Oregon, and then won the West Coast championships in Long Beach, California. And we went to the Stan Musial AABC World Series 2 years in a row. And we were runner-up national champions, lost in the final game. And the next year we finished 4th. And we did not have a good series that time. But we had some very talented players. We had 7 players off our team that signed for play professionally.
Wow. Bob, I see you shaking your head. Come on now.
No, I remember that very well. That Stan Musial League, we went up to, I played with a team that they won everything. MB Plating was it called, and they won everything. We had Ray Lamb as a pitcher. We had Darrell Evans playing. We had some really good players on that team, and Ron, that's the first time I had ever heard of Ron say they kicked the crap out of us. And Kirk,
it went that way. I think it went the other way around. I think we were kind of the lucky ones. I think we put together 2 late inning rallies that kind of pulled it out. But
Kirkland, Washington, I'll never forget that. And that's one of the few times, it was really amazing team that they had up there. I got it. I thought, how the hell can they be that good when they are in the rain all the time? But unbelievable.
Yeah, we had a lot of really cream of the crop players as far as the ones that we could pick from to play on our club. And we actually had one summer, the first summer when I was just coming out of high school, we had a week to play up in Fairbanks, Alaska against the Gold Panthers. And the Gold Panthers had a cream of the crop type of setting as well. They had their best players from USC, UCLA, and Stanford. And
Bill
Sinesoth played up there. Rich Gannulin, a catcher from UCLA, Pat Harrison, who signed with the Dodgers, second base, Bob Boone, who became an all-star and world champion for the Philadelphia Phillies. We had Tom House, Mike Adamson, Bill Lee, all premier pitchers in the major leagues.
Wow.
Excuse me. And so the competition was really good, and we had a great time competing with them. And actually, they were runners up in the other division of semi-pro baseball the NBC, which is the National Baseball Congress, and I think their World Series was held in Kansas. So we had some really good players, and as a matter of fact, Tom House, after the first couple of games, came up to me when we were, going through some drills before the game, and said, he says, have you signed a letter of intent yet? And I said, yeah, I have, as a matter of fact. And he says, where did you sign your letter of intent? I said, Washington State. And he said, oh no. He said, God, he says, I was just about ready to say, you know what, if you want to come to USC, I think I can get you in there, or at least help, because he had, he was kind of looking out for guys too, because Rod Dato was the coach down there, and he says, God, he says, okay, well, he said, I suppose all these other guys are going to Washington State that you have on your team too, and I said, yeah. So we had a good rivalry. We had we had a game at USC that we ended up losing in 13 innings. Guy had a pop fly over that very short right field fence at Bovard Field, and when they came up to Washington State, we beat Jim Barr in the first game, and we lost to Bill Lee in the second game. So we battled them tough. We beat Stanford when they were number one. Ironically, I hit a home run in the top of the ninth that won the game down at the Sunken Diamond. And Bob Boone was there. Sandy Vance was there. Don Rose, Mark Marquez, Bob Gallagher, who played with the Dodgers as well. Had a lot of players too, so we had a really tough league. Ken Forsch pitched up at Oregon State. We had all kinds of guys spread out all over the place.
Yeah, great baseball. At least from a the integrity of the game was with this guy here, and he ended up being a really good player. And you mentioned Bob Boone, you mentioned Tom House, and Tom. Obviously, he's now the quarterback whisperer. He's the guy that spent all those years with Brady during the offseason saying, I don't see anything other than a skeleton, Tom. And you're throwing in your arms like this. You need to have your open arm, your left arm. Just change that angle. It'll open up your and Tom goes, sure, I'll do it. And by the way, Tom House also, who caught Henry Aaron's 715th home run? You were standing on third base. It was your buddy Tom House. How about that?
It was, and Bill Buckner was the one who climbed the fence
He tried like the Dickens to not let that ball go out of the park. Yeah. I applaud his effort. Not against me, not on my watch, right?
Yeah. Well, we hit. Henry was circling the bases, and there were two kids that ran him down at second base, heading towards me, and so I wasn't sure what I was going to do exactly. The other guys were fortunate enough to be able to shake his hand, and I wanted to shake his hand too, but I also felt like, maybe this is just his moment. And the fact that the two kids are there, that's going to make it kind of difficult. So I kind of let him go. And so it turned out that, we had like a 30-minute delay in the game because of the celebration. And we were all thrilled that he did it. We had hoped that because we were playing them early in the season in April of '74, that it would happen when we went and visited the Braves on the road. Yeah. And, sure enough, Henry hit a home run on opening day in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, correct.
And then he sat down the next day or two saying that, they had an extended homestand in Atlanta to start the season, and he wanted to do it in front of the home folks.
Sure.
And so we're saying, great, this is perfect, because it turns out to be the most historical game I ever played in. And the following week, the Braves came to Dodger Stadium, and you don't usually have guys go over to the visiting clubhouse and ask for autographs.
Oh my
but
God.
I took 2 posters and 2 balls over there, and I cornered Henry. And I said, I didn't get a chance to shake your hand last week, but coming around third base, but I'm not leaving here until you sign these things for me. And he said, great, there's no problem at all. Thanks for asking. So
Well, Davy Lopes ended up shaking his hand right as he was touching
yeah,
second base.
yeah.
And then I think Henry had said when those two kids came around, he thought one of them was going to try to gun him down or so. He thought his life was threatened in many different ways. And were your hands folded? I can't remember when he passes you. I just don't remember. But
I don't recall. I'd have
yeah.
to take a look at the. It's quite possibly, but possible. But I you know, we understood what he was going through.
Sure.
And you know, in our history and tradition, you know, Jackie Robinson being the first black player in baseball, you know, we know a lot about that too.
Right.
So you know, the fact that Henry, you know, had to go through all of that, you know, was, and he's an exemplary guy, was an exemplary guy, and I can't say enough about him in the way that he eventually handled all of that. What a wonderful, incredible accomplishment for a black man to make in America. And you know, you go back to Jackie Robinson. You know, the Dodgers obviously, you know, handpicked him. You know, based on his personality and everything, and all the things that he had the right demeanor to be able to handle this. And as the story goes even deeper, you know, there were a lot of black people in America that were worried beyond what was just at hand, because they were kind of afraid that Jackie might not be able to make it. And if that had happened, you know, it might have set Black America back, especially in sports. But you know, we're all beneficiaries of his incredible accomplishment, and we celebrate him today. There's a game that everybody wears number 42, so that's really incredible. And
Hey Harper, can I say something?
Absolutely, Bob.
I want to just tell you one thing, and Ron knows this. Because of my friendship with Darrell Evans, I was around the Braves all those years in Atlanta, here, and what I believe, I don't know if history will tell you this, I believe that Hank Aaron went through way more crap than Jackie Robinson, because Billy Acree, the equipment manager, showed me boxes of letters that I couldn't repeat on the air. But if you they had the FBI taking his kids to school, and you know, all I can tell you through the whole thing, they used to say at the Sheraton West Hotel out here, Hank handled the whole thing with dignity and class. That's when I always loved Hank Aaron. He was always my favorite player, but that's when I really got seeing it up close, being around him in the clubhouse, being around him and seeing how he was just one of the guys. He never wanted anything, and the guy, they said, I saw letters that they said, you black son of a bitch, you could hit home runs with your lips. You could do this. They said if you hit a home run and we're going to blow your head off. I mean, he had death threats, all that, and I saw the letters, and I think the Hall of Fame has the letters. They didn't throw them out, but I'm just saying, I don't want to, you know, this is Ron Say's thing, but I just want to say and Ron was on third base when that happened, and
it's right there,
and
it's forever.
It's just an amazing. My respect for Hank Aaron. He was the most humble, just like the guy you're talking to. He always carried himself with class, dignity, and humility, and that's what I love. When you can be that much of a rock star and be just one of the guys, everybody loved him. I never heard a negative word about him. That's it for me.
There's a little bit of controversy because Bowie Kuhn wasn't going to be at one of the games, or he wasn't at the game in '73 when he hit the 712, I guess, 713. And for him to be there or not be there, there was all kinds of stuff with that. But when Vin Scully, when he touched home plate, he said, who would imagine that a black man in the Deep South would get a standing ovation? And Vinny's poetry at times, it was different, but that was so stunning for me as a 10-year-old. If I was even that, no, I was 11. And, you know, you're right there. Ron, I got to ask you, though, you get to see the pitch, maybe not as much as Bill Russell next to you at shortstop, but did Joe Ferguson call for a middle pitch? He could have hit an easier ball. It was a It was a batting practice fastball. Come on, give him something harder to hit. Would you please, Al?
I'm not so sure Al Downing looks at it quite that same way. And, look, you can always blame the guy who puts down the fingers, right? But eventually it's the guy who throws the pitch. It's his ball game, He has to agree with you. But look, all I know is that, if I'm Al Downing, I'm not. I think Al might be a little embarrassed by that. I don't think I would be if I was a pitcher. And of course, I'm not a pitcher. So my word really isn't much here. But I think that I would have been incredibly overwhelmed if I had been, that guy who challenged him. And he got the better of this. But I'm a part of baseball history at the highest level. This record here is one of the top revered accomplishments in all of baseball. And for me to be attached to it, even if it's on the other side of it, sometimes you don't remember the other person, the team that wins the world championship, who lost, who won the Super Bowl last year, Philadelphia Eagles, right? They don't necessarily talk about the loser in this, right? Right. They always remember the winner. But if I was, I was just thrilled. I mean, to be in the game. The fact that we were participating, adds to our history and tradition. Who did Henry Aaron break the record against? Los
Angeles Dodgers. Yep,
right.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, we're associated with that too, with all our rest of our history and tradition. Jackie Robinson is a Dodger. I just, I mean,
and only a Dodger.
Right.
Only, right?
Yeah. And there's not too many guys who get to do that, play for one team their entire career. So I look at that as wow, that's pretty special.
Hey, do me a favor. I took this is probably in the 70s, but tell me what it was like for you the first time you walked in that stadium.
Overwhelming. My first day in Dodger Stadium, once I was able to get into the clubhouse and start mingling with my guys down there, it was Buckner, it was Valentine, it was Tom Paciorek,
Bill Sudeikis.
Bill Sudeikis was there too. A lot of guys, but it was now, wow, this is really cool. And we got on the field and, I looked straight up at the top of the stadium where the Dodger logo is. And it's
a long way up, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And and I came in from up there. That's where I entered the stadiums, from the top. And so when I came in and got my first look at Dodger Stadium was from up top. And I'm saying, my God, it's a sunken diamond. It really is. We're a long ways up here. And when I looked up, I was on the field taking ground balls, and I'm saying, man, this is awesome. This is absolutely awesome. And then, of course, I couldn't wait for the game to start because, I wanted the national anthem. I mean, as many times as we've heard the national anthem, this one became rather special because now this is going to be official. I'm going to be playing in my first game. Once this national anthem is over with, I went back into the hallways and started beating on the walls saying, my name's going to be on the roster. This is my first major league game.
How about that? And Helen Dell at the organ, right? Back in those days.
Yeah.
The reason I took this picture is because if I'm a third baseman right here, there is a heck of a lot of room that I got to cover. Remember, this was a pitcher's ballpark. It was a great place for foul balls to end up in your or maybe Steve Garvey's or Ferguson's glove, right? Maybe Yeager a little bit later. But my gosh, there's a lot of real estate, foul territory that you didn't have in Chicago or in New York even, or in Boston, some of the other ballparks that were around. Oakland had a big ballpark, but not many others did.
San Francisco did too. San Francisco was huge.
Yeah.
The Dodger Stadium does not have that anymore. You know,
Right.
For what you see, where that track is, that's where they moved up the dugout seats to.
Yeah.
So there's very little foul ground now, and yes, that's the reason why they say this is a pitcher's park. It's because you probably have an inning a game that will take away from your offense that are foul balls that are caught that are not
Sure.
caught today.
Yeah. Yeah. You almost have to play with 23 or 24 outs as opposed to 27, the way you strategize there.
Well, yeah, and the fact that they strike out 10 times a game, which is 3 innings, you know, your chance to play and develop innings, manufacture runs, really kind of puts a damper to it. They strike out far too many times, and they just don't care about some of these things that were part of baseball. You know, when you talk about baseball terminology, you know, the bad hop is pretty much obsolete today because the fields are so well manicured.
Oh, they're amazing. Yeah.
Right. And the other part that is also obsolete is the bunt, the hit and run, the hit behind runners. I'm not sure if, and I'm being facetious here,
Sure.
that the players today really understand that part of the game much because it's a swing and a miss game. It's a home run game. You don't challenge the defenses like you used to, even though they are running more these days because they decided to enlarge the bases and change a lot of the rules, which I'm not really too thrilled about. The pitch clock, I'm all for. The phantom runner at second base, I'm not for at all. I think it's two teams that battle for 9 innings, and then you go into extra innings and you give them a cookie out at second base. You don't even have to earn that runner, you know.
Yeah.
And what if a guy gets a broken bat single? You know, game's over.
Yep.
Game's over, right? And they didn't even earn it. You just gave them, you know, because you wanted to speed up the game and put the fans back in their homes a little bit earlier than they would have been.
What was it like when a stadium like this that I got the shot with, there's not a parking spot anywhere, and you're playing in front of 42,000 people every night, Ron? That was what the average was back in those days. It would probably take half a season to get that many in just your collegiate experience. And this is every night. What was that like for you? Just saying, this is a spectacle, and I'm a part of it.
It was fantastic. I have always given a great deal of credit to our fan base. You know, they supplied us with the support. We gave them 4 World Series, World Championship, longest running and most successful infield in Major League history.
Yep.
First 30 home run foursome in Major League history, and all the great players that came and went. All the award winners, MVPs, World Series MVPs, Rookies of the Year, Cy Young Award winners, you name it, we had it. It was a great time. It was a mutual benefit. We set Major League attendance records back then. We led the league in attendance every year.
Yep.
And we also did it on the road. And that double hasn't been done too many times in baseball, but we were one of the teams that did that as well. So I can't thank our fan base enough for the support that they gave us. They're still phenomenal today. And by fact, they live in the house that we built.
Yeah, very interesting that you put it that way. And it continues the tradition. I've seen Dave Roberts now when he welcomes a player that has these big eyes and sees the trophies and the plaques and all of the different historical figures that have been part of the either Brooklyn or Los Angeles Dodger organization. It's just an amazing accomplishment. The reason I took this picture, I wanted to, some of these young guys, and you're one of them. There's a lot being asked of you. Michael Strahan, the football player, had a little podcast not too long ago, and he's with a couple of his buddies and maybe Jason Tuck or Osio Manure, and he asked him, how long did it take you to become a pro? Because it took me about 4 full years. My first year, I didn't know what I was doing. The next thing, my second year, I thought I knew what I was doing. The third year, I thought I figured it out, but it was probably the fourth year that I felt comfortable enough to be a professional. How about that for you, Ron? Same question. What was that like for you in terms of the development? And I'm going from AAA in Albuquerque, and now I'm a part of a major league organization.
Well, first of all, you're in uncharted territory because you've never played 162 games in one season, and that's a grind. The history and tradition that is presented to you in the halls of Dodgertown, the Vero Beach, Florida, the spring training facility is kind of subliminal. You see all the great players and all the great teams that have represented the Dodgers, and you want to have your stuff on there too. You want to make your impact, which we did, and we're very proud of. But I told Peter O'Malley years ago that, I got the message, and he said, "What message is that?" And I said, "The one that's on the walls of Vero Beach, Florida." And he said, "Good. I'm glad you did, because it was very important." And they did not, verbally come out and just say, "Hey, this is what we expect of you." You see it, you feel it. We were taught well. My first year, we had a big year. We were in first place when we first entered September, and the Big Red Machine was right on our back.
Yeah.
And they played really great down the stretch. And it's not that we played so poorly. It's just that they played better. And they won. But we won 95 games. And today that would have put us in the playoffs. Back then it did not. We learned from that. There was a learning process. The next year, we gained a lot of confidence, and we ended up winning 102 games. We ended up fighting off the Big Red Machine, went to our first World Series. I was the starting third baseman in the All-Star game. I had driven in 97 runs that year. So I got myself established, pretty quick. And then the next year, I ended up probably having my best overall year. I had my best WAR that year, drove in 100 runs. I started in my second All-Star game. I was well on my way, and we were too. And I remember us losing in the 74 World Series, and Walter Alston, after the last game in Oakland, kind of closes the clubhouse doors for a very brief period. And he says to us, and we were young, he says, I want you guys to think about the good things that we accomplished. We won 100 games. We beat Pittsburgh in the playoffs. We're very good. And I don't want you to dwell on losing, because this team here is the defending world champions, and they just did a three-peat, and they are more experienced, and it showed in the World Series. We lost 2, maybe 3 one-run games to that. And he said, just remember the good things, because you know what? We're going to come back and do this a few more times. And that was it. Just a couple minutes, and the doors are open, and we were still disappointed with losing. You don't want to just show up at the World Series. You want to win it. And we felt short, but the impact that we had, the progress that we were making, and true to Walt's belief, we returned to the World Series 3 more times before our time was up.
Well, I got some pictures here. You're sliding in a second. I can't remember if this is game 2 or 3. The reason I know it's 2 different games, obviously Bert Campaneris throwing over you here on this one in the green uniform, and then the other one with the yellow. Those are the ugliest uniforms ever. And then Houston surpassed them by going with the stripes.
Yeah.
Our uniforms are worse than yours, and probably one of the worst in any sport, other than maybe the Vancouver Canucks not figuring it out. But what a great lineup. I mean, as young as you guys were, for you to say, you know what, we went toe-to-toe with these guys. We lose a couple of one-run games. The last game was a little bit of a blowout, but everything about the three-peat, and then free agency kicks in, and you've got a business aspect, changing baseball, which is much bigger than the athletic aspect. You got to learn how to put teams together in a completely different way, right?
Well, I mean, we were homegrown. Our farm system was producing our teams. The entire infield had been drafted by the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Lopes, Russell, Garvey, and myself. Three of them were converted players. Russell and Lopes played in the outfield. Garvey played third base. They all had to play different positions except for me. And so we it doesn't really get any better than your farm system producing the nucleus of your team for the next 10 years.
Sure.
We've kind of destroyed the farm system by ourselves. There wasn't another infielder that made it to the big leagues on our club. They all had to go someplace else to make it to the major leagues, and there were quite a few of them. And but yeah, we slammed the door. I mean, we became the nucleus of the team. We were the foundation, and and as it proves out, we were the longest running, most successful infield in Major League history by fact. Nobody else did even close to what we did. And, I'm not going to tell you that we were the greatest infield of all time. I'm not sure I believe that myself, because there could be a team that, put together four guys in 1 year or another year that may have been as good or better. But when you put guys out there for 8.5 years that were healthy, that performed individually, and your teams won, you won more games than anybody else. You played in 4 World Series. There's 20 some All-Star game berths out of all those multiple time All-Stars in the infield. We became household names to Dodger fans, simple as that. We had a great relationship with our fan base.
Yeah.
And they supported us, and we gave them what they came for.
Well, and you mentioned the Big Red Machine a couple of times. Now, Pete would go to different positions. Sometimes he's at third base, sometimes in left field. He played first later on in his career, but as good as they were in the beginning of the decade in 70, they lost to the Orioles, if I'm not mistaken. They played and lost to the A's, just like you guys did. They beat the Red Sox and eventually the Yankees a couple of times. Yep. But you did too. You got to play those teams just like it. If it wasn't them, it was you. So you had to go toe to toe with them each and every season, almost each and every game.
Well, I felt that we were the two best teams in baseball, and we were in the same division of baseball. So one of us was going to get left out, and we kind of split. And when you line up against the likes of Bench, Perez, Morgan, Concepcion, Rose, Foster, Geronimo, and Griffey, along with our pitching staff, you got your hands full. Yeah. The 1976 Reds were the best team that I faced in my career. They had a monster team, and the emergence of George Foster, really, really, really made them an incredible force, because they had the likes of Bench and Perez in the middle of the lineup, and now you've got a third guy who's hitting 50 home runs, 40 home runs, driving in 100 runs every year. Yeah. And you got Rose, Griffey, and Morgan in front of you, and Joe Morgan is the MVP. It doesn't get much better than that. And
who do you get out, right? Who can you get out in this lineup? Concepcion gets a grounder to short, but it's all right. There's a guy at third. They get a run. You know what I mean? They're always in position offensively. Very tough.
Well, they had a terrific center fielder too in Geronimo. He had a great arm, and he ran well. And then you got Griffey in right, and he runs well, and he got a lot of infield hits. And then you got Pete Rose, who's a hit machine. And if you put Rose, Concepcion, Morgan, and Perez together for a period of time, that there is a really outstanding infield.
Yeah, and then, again, you got to go against them 18 times a season.
Yeah, I mean, we had it was such a great rivalry. We would go to Riverfront Stadium and we'd have 55,000 crazy lunatic Red fans screaming and yelling and calling us everything that you can imagine.
Yeah.
And then when the Reds would come to Dodger Stadium, they've got 55,000 screaming Dodger fans that. It was just an event. It wasn't a regular season game. We knew that these were big games, that we had to beat them to go to where we wanted to, and vice versa. And I loved playing against those guys. We had a good relationship with all of them. I respected all of them. Yeah, it was a very, very special time in baseball for us.
And Ron, you may not have recognized it, but at several of the Dodger games that I would go to, especially if I got to go against a Red game, that was the thrill itself, is do you get tickets for the Red game? Not the Phillies, not the Astros, certainly not the Padres. But I would yell more to boo Pete than anyone else in my life. I've never enjoyed doing that more. There was a sign in the 72 NLDS between the Reds and the Mets. The winner goes to the World Series. And some guy in New York had a big bed sheet and it said, "Rose is a weed." And that was the most fun sign I think I've ever seen in my life. Just a simple thing like that. But it's not because I hated Pete, but I hated what he would do to the Dodgers. He was a Dodger killer, if you know what I mean. And just my appreciation for him and what he did for the game, yes, absolutely, on the field, not off, on the field. But they were so good, they were so competitive that I would boo until I couldn't talk anymore. And rooting for you guys, and you got to hear that from both sides. You got to hear people, I hate Steve Garvey, or I hate Don Sutton, or I hate Andy Messersmith, and I hate Ron Say. You heard plenty of that when you were in Ohio,
and I loved it. You don't get booed on the road and not feel good about it. That's a compliment.
Hey, Ron, they didn't boo Pepe Frias.
Well, all I can tell you is the only place that I thought I got it worse was in San Francisco. And, when we'd come out that door in right field where the clubhouses were and the wind was blowing as hard as it did all the time, they were booing us the moment we came out the door. And they booed me because I ended up doing to the Giants. I did a double on them. I was the second leading all-time visiting player in home runs behind Willie Stargell, and I was the all-time leader in runs batted in by a visiting player in Candlestick Park. And I had a multiple home run game. I had 5 hits in a game. I hit a grand slam in the game. I got 9 consecutive hits over 3 games. The Dodgers usually beat the Giants. I would say more than they beat us. It was a very special time. It was, getting booed in Yankee Stadium is a treat.
Yeah.
Getting booed in Philadelphia is good. Getting booed in San Francisco is good. Getting booed in Cincinnati is good. That means you must have done something to upset them. So,
hey, Ron, what year was it that you got 10 consecutive hits, I think, to start the year?
Well, it wasn't to start the year. It was like in July of, I don't know, maybe 1977. I got 9 straight hits in Candlestick Park. And that was part of that sequence was a 5-hit game. But the grand slam came at a different time. The 2 home run games or whatever it was, that came at another time. For some reason, I had a lot of success in Candlestick Park. Obviously, those records that I just told you about, they're good because they moved downtown, so I don't have to worry about somebody breaking those records.
Yeah. Share a little bit about that, because if I got to play in Candlestick when it was football generated, you're looking at I-beams and parts of the outfield where the stands, once they were folded up, it was like a really poorly built high school gym. There's a chain link fence. It's there's hot dog wrappers always blowing all over the place, every time you get in home plate, you're going to get some dust in your eye. And it's about 45 degrees below zero in the middle of summer. All you guys are all dressed in thermals and everything like that.
Yeah.
But you had no problem with it. You're just hitting the ball out every time.
I honestly, I haven't delved into the problem where I want to try and figure that out. Sometimes I think it's just a good idea to just be naive about it and just accept it. But I think that the home field players, the actual Giant players and the 49er players, they're the ones who have the worst of it, because they're the ones who have to play in it all the time. You know, we go in there and play a 3-game series and we're gone. And, you know, you can withstand that. But I know that those guys really had a hard time, because when they'd come out and take batting practice in the afternoon, you know, they're out there in their T-shirts on and whatever. And it's nice and warm and it feels good. And then by the time the game starts, the wind's picked up. You look like a hockey player when you have to dress up and put your uniform on. And the other bad thing about Candlestick Park is there were no bathrooms in the dugouts, and there was no batting cages. Okay, so if you had to go to the bathroom, or you wanted to take some swings before you might have to pinch hit or loosen up, almost impossible. And nobody ever went out for a night game without their heavy jacket. Okay, because if you sat there on the bench for 7 innings, and you were asked to play, it's going to take a while for you to get loosened up, because it's cold.
Yeah, there's a great Tommy Lasorda story about not having a bathroom nearby that I'd heard of, and there's a fence behind behind your dugout that or you got to be able to sprint in between innings and go all the way into right field into that little clubhouse that you had.
You don't know how many times I saw guys, as soon as the last out was made in the inning, guys were almost in starting blocks,
sprinting,
ready to take off and run in there as fast as they could. And believe me, by the time you get in there, there might be 1 out. Okay. Might be 2 outs, right? And if you're one of those players and you might have a chance you might be the 5th hitter in the inning to hit, it's a big distraction. Trust me.
Hey, Ron, tell them about the Steve Carlton home run, and tell them about when you were in Montreal when Rick Mundy hit the home run, what it was like playing up there.
Oh, well, you know, Steve Carlton, we were facing the Phillies at home in the first game of the 1977 NLCS. And I particularly had ended the season on a real down note. I was in a serious slump, and Lasorda didn't waver. You know, we're starting over as far as he's concerned. And, you know, I was concerned because I did not enter the postseason on a high note, and I was really, really struggling. And we're facing Steve Carlton. I mean, a Cy Young Award winner, Hall of Famer, one of the best pitchers in the game at the time, and all time. Daunting task, especially when you're not exactly doing the things that you normally do. And my first time up, I hit a line drive that Larry Boa almost caught and went into left field, and I got a base hit. So that started me off. That got me on a good, positive frame of mind. The next time up, I hit a breaking ball. I hit a 1-hopper to Mike Schmidt at third base, I believe. And so, you know, although I was out, I'd hit the ball hard twice.
You're seeing the ball well, right? You're seing it well, yeah.
I've hit both pitches, so I'm feeling good. I don't recall which at bat it might have been. My third at bat. It was at low scoring, and we only scored 1 run up to the 7th inning, I believe. And then I came up with the bases loaded. And here I am saying, any other time in my life, I'm saying, wow, what a great position for me to be in. And I still did say the same kind of a thing, but it wasn't with the same confidence that I was walking up there. This was an opportunity for me. And I'm saying, boy, I would feel so much better if I, was just in the middle of a hot streak, or I was just playing consistently well and getting hits every day and driving in runs and hitting the ball out of the ballpark. But it had been a while. And so I went up there, and we're in a battle. And I remember it was the pitch before Steve Carlton threw me a breaking ball, and on the path in this split second, I got a little bit of a tear in my eye, and it obstructed my view. And somehow I was able to foul this ball off. And I remember, hitting my eye or something, saying, oh God, was I lucky on that? That could have been just disastrous. And the next pitch he threw me was a fastball. It was kind of down and away. And I got to it, and I hit a home run. I hit a grand slam home run to left field. And
you pulled it outside, low outside.
Well, it was down out, but when you have home runners who get extended,
yeah,
you can bury those balls. You can bury those balls. And I did. And we ended up tying the game. And when I was running around the bases, the stadium was actually, shaking.
It's the loudest I've ever heard, Harper. The loudest I ever heard.
I honestly thought that might have an earthquake.
Yeah,
really did. It was shaking.
It was shaking. I thought it was an earthquake. It was unbelievable.
So anyway, as it turned out, I did not hit again, and we ended up losing the game. We gave up 2 runs in the top of the 9th.
Oh.
Okay, so we lost the first game of the series. And fortunately enough, every National League Championship series we played in while I was there, we won. And so we came back and won the next 3 games against the Phillies, and then we jumped into the World Series and started the World Series off in New York. But the other home run that you mentioned, Bob, was what? World Series home run? You asked me about Carlton and who else?
No, I asked you to tell him what it was like. What you told me about being in Montreal and that freeze.
Oh, Montreal. Yes, Montreal. Okay. So this is 1981.
Yep.
We were playing the Montreal Expos, and they had a terrific club. And we are now in Montreal, and we are tied 2-2. Best of 5 back then, not best of 7. And it is real cold in Montreal. We got basically snowed out the day before. And now we're coming back and playing a game, and it's probably, I don't know, maybe 25 degrees. And it is, the air is really cold and thick. And I'm saying, I don't, unless you go right down the line today, I don't think anybody, it's just too cold. The ball's not going to carry.
Plus, they had a 900-foot high fence right in the metric system, so it's deeper. It's a big park, right?
Yeah.
Big park.
Yeah, it's a big park. And anyway, we're tied. It's the 8th inning. I believe it's the 8th inning. And I was hitting in front of Rick Monday, and I hit a ball down off the end of my bat. And Rick, to this day, still thinks he thought my ball was going to go out down the line. And it gets caught at the fence and right up against the fence, I guess. And I didn't hit the ball good at all. I knew that I didn't get it. Yeah, and it didn't sound good for me either. So then I was pretty convinced that, you may not be able to square things up, and then, much to my surprise, and I really felt good that I was wrong about this. Rick Monday buries a ball to deep right center field. And I still to this day don't know how exactly that ball got out of the ballpark. I didn't think there was one that was going to leave it. But
is this the next batter after you, not later?
Yeah.
I mean, right after you hit that ball out?
Yeah, he just buries
Steve Rogers, right?
He just buries. Yeah, he just buries this ball to right center field, and and then that puts us up 2-1. And then Fernando pitches the ninth inning, and we get out, and we end up winning the game 2-1. And the next night, we've got to start the World Series in New York, so there was really no time for celebration, although we tried. We couldn't help but get past this moment because it was such a momentous turn, and what an incredible home run Rick Monday just hit.
Yeah.
And the performance that we had to be able to overcome all of this, and really a great tribute to all of us. And that was really, really a great moment. And and Rick Monday's got his place etched in Dodger history as well.
No kidding. Wow. Well, I've got some 77 and 8 regrets, right? Just from a fan. I know as a player, you're thinking, God, we got there, but we didn't get there. We weren't able to beat the Yankees. Here's you with Thurman behind the plate. This looks like a foul ball. I'm not asking you to remember it. I'm just saying one thing I wanted to ask you too, Ron. If I were to coach my kids, the way that your batting stance was, you're almost in a load from the very beginning. In other words, the load for some folks is the furthest that you go back before you start going forward, and your left arm especially. Is that something that somebody coached you to do? Is that something you learned as a kid and it was just comfortable to do it that way? But a lot of guys have a lot more bend in their arm. They go back, that's their load, and then they go forward. Everything there is just getting your weight, throwing your bat, your shoulders, your hips, everything into it. How did you develop the stance? It's kind of a short stance. You took a pretty good step, but your load was something that you already were in that type of a stance when the pitch was on the way.
I was loaded there. My step was probably, maybe a foot's length, possibly.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the point being is that, I had a short, compact swing, and I had great leverage from the lower body. And, I would kind of, sway back and forth. And it's like and Bob can tell you this, when you're a boxer, if you're going to be right here and go forward, there's not much behind that. Not much behind it at all.
Right.
So you have to be in this position, and then you got to rear back. You got to boom up, right?
Yeah.
You got to. Well, this was my lower body. Boom. When you come, my lower body is just a split second ahead of my upper body.
Right.
Okay. This is where you drive from the backside. When you end up, you're out front. You're out here on your front foot. You're driving off your back. So when I would come back with my lower body, that would gear me up. And coming from here, boom, just a little bit of a right there, but not go back up here. I couldn't. That's too far. It's too much of a movement. Your eyes are moving. If you tried too big, your head drops too far. Yep. And when so you're trying to be on an equal plane, and you're trying to track the ball from the top side, not the bottom side. These guys have an angle swing now that if you don't hit it exactly at that point, there's no way that you can hit it. But if you track it from the top side, you can follow this thing around wherever it goes. You're on top of it. You're hitting down on it. And that creates backspin. But the point being is that I loaded up from the bottom. And then when I got out on my front foot, it wasn't just an easy swing coming. There's an explosion out here. There's an explosion at the end. It's not just boom, it's boom. And so with that weight transfer coming off my backside, when I got up to hit the ball out in front, then I'm driving the ball. And they used to tell me when I was a young kid that the ball flies off your bat. And that is because of the bat speed that I'm generating and the power behind it.
Well, also your leg strength too. You didn't have weights or anything like that. That's a very unique aspect of this. You've always had thick legs, your calves, you only need to bend your knees just a little bit to get the power and the inertia to get a jump up in the air in basketball. And I'm imagining just a little bit of there, a little bit of a hip bend, and maybe an ankle, just a little bit, allows you to push into the ground and to generate the speed that you need. Tell me where I'm wrong in terms of that and your style of the way that you hit.
Well, I think the best way that I can do this is go sport to sport. My lower body I got from football. I learned how to leverage from down there.
Scooter.
Scooter, that's right.
Well, even when you block or you tackle, you're from your foundation, your legs.
You have to accelerate through.
You have to understand how to balance that. Okay, it has to be a balance, so you can drive from your lower body. When my footwork, basketball came into play, my defense, quickness, the ability to, I wouldn't say that I was fast. I ran average, but my quickness, my first start, my first steps, that's what helped me defensively. As far as there was a combination of all the sports that I played that helped me with baseball. Like I said, football helped me with my lower body. My footwork came from basketball, and also my hand and eye coordination. And I was athletic. I could do things. Just because I was eventually called a penguin. Has no relevance whatsoever with my athleticism. It just isn't. I was lucky that I was athletic as I was as a kid, because quite honestly, I was the best player on my team, regardless of what sport it was. I wasn't in the beginning, but when I got to a certain point, I was going to be, if I wasn't the best player, I was one of the best players.
Sure.
And that's what I wanted to do when I was a professional too. I didn't just want to have, I didn't want to just be another major league player. I wanted to play every day. I wanted to be one of those guys.
Yeah.
And, eventually I was able to work myself into that position. But yeah, I look back on it now and I'm saying, it would have been really difficult for me, I think, if I hadn't been able to achieve what I did, because I think I would have been disappointed. And to be quite honestly, when I look back on my career, if you were going to tell me what I was going to do in the beginning, saying this is what you're going to do, I would have taken it.
Yeah.
But now, after I've lived it, and my nature is, I should have done more.
Yeah. Well, you had to fight against Bill Madlock. You had Darrell Evans is there. You had Pete at third. You had Mike Schmidt, of course. You're competing every year, not just for an all-star, but I want to be the best guy at my position. I want to be in the football world. It's all pro. Who's the best at every position? That's what the all pro.
Hey Harper, you know what I'm taking out of this whole thing?
With the all-stars, right?
Harper, you know what I'm taking out of this whole thing?
What's
if
that?
there is no Scooter, there is no penguin. Think about it. He said it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, from a fundamental standpoint. Yeah.
Sure.
Well, look, I don't really get I get a little embarrassed sometimes when I have to talk about myself. I feel like sometimes in the past I've kind of had to defend myself, which I don't think that I should have to do. Right. Because technically speaking, during my time, my playing career, Mike Schmidt and I were the two highest ranked, best achieving third basemen.
You're both on the same rookie card, Ron. Right. You're on the same rookie card together, right?
And quite honestly, when I was coming through the minor leagues, 2 years, I had to spend 2 years in the Pacific Coast League.
Right.
Second year, I was really disappointed that I had to go back and try to do this again. But I was the Pacific Coast League's all-star third baseman. Mike Schmidt was not. The next year, I did the same thing. And because Mike Schmidt had done so well, they ended up putting him at second base on the all-star team.
Wow.
When we went to Puerto Rico before we made it to the major leagues, I was the all-star third baseman in Puerto Rico, and the all-star in the all-star game, I was the starting third baseman. And so, I had a bit of an advantage over Mike Schmidt at the time. And then our first 6 or 7 years, it's, back and forth. And Mike's now has established himself as premier home run hitter and RBI guy and making the all-star teams just like we are. And we're playing against each other in the playoffs and stuff. So, Mike Schmidt will go down as, at least currently, right now. It's going to take some time to supplant him, but he is the greatest third baseman in baseball history.
Yeah, he's amazing at what he did. Hey, do me a favor. Let's talk about this line. You were there. You're on the field. Reggie didn't remove himself. I thought he went into that throw from second to first. And the things that happened immediately after. The reason I bring this up is because you're right there. You're there for all of it. Lasorda comes out. He's arguing. He's making a big pitch. And this is obviously World Series and a challenge. And there you are in the upper left-hand corner, what I got of you. And, tell us a little bit about what you could hear from this. I don't think, Ron, that you got the best view from your vantage point at third base of seeing exactly what Reggie did. But did you notice that he's kind of leaned into that ball?
Yeah, it was obvious. You can see him bend his hip to deflect the ball. It was interference. The play should have been brought back. Back then, the umpires did not like to overturn the umpire that made the call. We did not have instant replay. If you do have instant replay, it will show you that he interfered with the ball.
Yep.
And we win that game. And we would have taken a 3-1 lead. And I'm pretty sure that the next day it could have very much been over with. But as it turned out, it was the momentum swing. They got the call on this game. They got 2 runs because of this call here. They ended up tying the game in the bottom of the 8th, and then they won it in the 12th. Should have never gone that far. We should have been off the field with 3-0 lead.
Yep.
If you take a look at the instant replay, and nobody's going to care about what I have to say. I've heard from a Yankee fan, and they say, well, it wasn't much. Well, it doesn't have to be much. It's like pass interference or a guy being offside or a guy getting a hand on a ball, to block a punt or a field goal or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what happened. And it doesn't matter whether it's a little bit or not. It broke the rule, and we weren't able to capitalize on it. We did not handle the situation very well, which I put on ourselves. But that's a World Series that got away from us. And unfortunately, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter anymore. But, the on the field for Reggie hitting the 3 home runs. But you're also there when Bob Welsh got the strikeout in about a 12-pitch at bat, and just some really cool moments between 2 historical franchise. You're on the field for all this stuff. Is there a portion of you that, man, looking back at it, that was so, even if you're on the wrong end of Reggie getting the home runs, but it's a part of baseball history and you're there as a nostalgic fan, you go, yeah, but it also sucks when you lose that game.
I'll answer both. Being in the 3 home run game for Reggie, we were still, in the hunt. And now we have a player of Reggie's magnitude that now has a career game in the World Series.
Unbelievable.
And there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. Unfortunately
for us, but you come away from it and you say, we're in this hunt. And then all of a sudden, it's like Joe Montana now throws 6 touchdown passes, in a game. It's like as his career game, and what are you going to do? What are you going to do? As far as the other game, 1978, Bob Welch striking out Reggie Jackson. This is the part that is odd for me because, yeah, that was a big moment. But what gets lost in that game is that I probably had my best career game in the World Series. We won the game 4-3, and I drove in all the runs. And I hit a 3-run home run off Catfish Hunter that breaks the game open. And all I can remember is Reggie Jackson getting struck out by Bob Welch.
I'm sorry. I did it. Bob, I'm guilty. I want to talk about the game, but here's Ron going, yeah.
Hey, Harper, I want to tell you something. I was at that game, and I would sit with Casey, and we'd sit in 215 in the club level. And right next to us for years, and what shocked me is Ron had never met him. And I told Ron this story. Cary Grant sat right next to me, okay?
Yeah.
And guess who Cary Grant's favorite player was?
Casey Stengel.
Told that to Ron.
Oh, that guy right there, really? Yeah, how about that?
Frank Sinatra, I since we're name dropping, Frank Sinatra and I had a relationship too. And it was great that he was around the clubhouse as much as he was. A lot of the time it was with Don Rickles. And after the 77 World Series, he invited Tommy Lasorda, Joe, and Fran and I up to Las Vegas. He was performing 2 nights at Caesar's Palace. And so we went up there for the weekend. Frank took care of us. And it was kind of at this point in time where he told me that I was, if I remember correctly, that I was his favorite player, and all that was great. And my wife got her very first autograph from Muhammad Ali.
Oh, get out. Really?
Yeah, that was.
He was there too? He went to
he was in the lobby, and Frank was kind of walking us around, and then we ran into Muhammad Ali. And my wife doesn't get giddy too much about things.
Yeah.
With all the people that we ran into in Hollywood and being Frank's guest there, and she goes, "Oh my God, I got to get his autograph." So I think she went over and tore a piece of paper from a paper bag or something and took it up to him and said, "Would you please sign this?" So it was great.
Yeah.
Now,
did he make the fist and the face and do all that?
It's really kind of funny. I talked about growing up with the kids in Tacoma and playing against the black kids at the Tacoma Boys Club. And it's really kind of funny how this progression of who I really followed, as a youngster. And, Willie Mays was my favorite baseball player.
Sure. And
all my other friends loved, Mickey Mantle, but Willie was my guy. And I loved Mickey too. How can't you? Yeah. But Willie was my guy. My first basketball player, Elgin Baylor.
I was going to say
Seattle University. Yeah. And so he was close by. And I got to watch a lot of basketball games. And so was Oscar Robertson. And so was Wilt Chamberlain.
Sure.
And, and Gale Sayers.
Or Jerry West. Yeah, right there.
Gale Sayers was my first real, when I'm a big 49er fan and always have been. That's where my loyalty was. We didn't have a professional team back then up in the state of Washington. No. So the closest team to me was in San Francisco. So I started to follow the 49ers, and, it was Y.A. Tittle, and then, Hugh McElhaney and
John Brody.
And so, and eventually, Gale Sayers had this 6-touchdown game against the 49ers in Chicago at Wrigley Field, by the way. Yeah. Another team that is rival with the Red Sox, Yankee Stadium, and Dodger Stadium. And so it was, there's a lot of things that cross paths. It's really interesting how these little side ventures, these names that get brought up, kind of take me down a different road and shoot me back into a different time frame and reminded me of all these things that I've got stored somewhere in my mind. But it's great. I love it because oh boy, I haven't thought of that in a long time.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. A real quick story. When my wife and I were building the house that we're in right now, we got the deck out on the back, and we had some kid. He was probably 25 years old. I'm in my early 40s at the time, and he's fixing the grill. It's a Swanee grill is what it was, and he had to hook the gas up and all that. And we start talking music, and I go, "Who's your favorite band?" He goes, he says, "I love Van Halen." I go, "Okay, cool. What's your favorite show that you ever saw?" And we were talking, getting to know each other. He goes, I can't tell you that. You'll laugh at me. I said, "No, I promise I won't laugh." He goes, "No, you will. You're going to laugh. My favorite show of all time is a guy that you're going to laugh." And I said, "I promise that I won't." He goes, "Frank Sinatra." And I said, "Get out. You got to be kidding." He goes, "No, I knew you were going to laugh at me." And I went, "Not at all. Tell me why." He said, "It's the classiest event I've ever went to. The women were all dressed in diamonds, and they had gowns, and they were dressed to the nines, and the men were in tuxedo, and they had cufflinks. It's the classiest show I've ever seen in my life." Ron, was there anything like that when you saw Frank?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I have a picture in the house that Frank signed to us. I think it was back in '77. I think that's what it says on the inscription. I don't know if I saw Frank the same way that other people did, because we had a relationship. It's like when we talk about, the people that we've met, and it's like, "Oh my God, you know him?"
Sure. Yeah.
I
That was my friend.
yeah.
Of course I know him. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, do you know Billy Crystal? Yeah. Do you know Tom Hanks? Yes. And they say, "Oh my God, you guys, you know those guys?" They don't hit me that way,
Okay.
because we have a relationship. And being in Southern California, you're kind of in an area of entertainment where everybody is here. You got TV stars, movie stars, professional athletes, rock stars of all kinds.
Yeah, everything.
You run into them with regularity. The very first time, another name dropping thing here.
That guy.
I can't.
Okay. Well, they all know Bob Case. They all know Bob.
What happens is that you meet somebody for the first time, and you don't introduce yourself. They already know who you are.
Yeah.
So do you. So it's not like you walk up and introduce yourself. You shake hands and you start talking. And that really caught me off guard the first few times that this happened. And, I'm in a place where, I introduce myself. I don't know whether they know me or not.
Please to meet you. I'm Ron Say. How are you? Stuff. Yeah.
And I remember doing that, and I can't remember exactly who it was with. But anyway, it's like running into Peter Falk for the first time. And I did a Columbo thing years ago, probably 30 some years ago. Maybe it's longer than that now. I'm not sure. But Peter took care of me on the shoot for 2 days. I mean, he took me back to his trailer, took me around the lot, showed me around. What a great guy. Got to be a part of that. And it's like the very first time he says, "Ron Say," he says, "I know who you are."
Yeah.
And it's just different. Other places that you go, you probably introduce yourself and, "Oh, nice to meet you," but here it's a little different. And it's kind of hard to explain, but I mean, you talk about rock groups. I have had a relationship with Fleet Penguin. Their press secretary, Judy Wong, kind of put us together years back. They would come into the clubhouse, and they came in one time kind of unannounced, and they brought me a director's chair with Penguin on it. And we had kind of a bit of a fallout after that in the clubhouse, because we had our cubicles in there, and nobody had any seats. You just sat on the bench. And now that I've got a director's chair, and everybody's getting on Nobi Kawano, our clubhouse guy, saying, "I want a director's chair." I want to have my name on the back of a
Where's
jersey.
mine? Where's mine? Yeah. And then Lopes is saying, okay, right. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
So here comes Lindsey Buckingham and Mick and John and Stevie and wasn't there. Stevie wasn't there, of course.
No.
But anyway, it was and I they've been to my house. I've been to their house. I went to recording studios with them when they were mixing the Tusk album, one of their more famous ones. Went to the concerts. It was just a real fun time. And I have forgotten a lot about it. I've been away from it for a long time now, but the opportunities of meeting all the people that I did even surprises me now that I remember meeting Liz Taylor in one of the suites when Bob Daly was helping the Murdoch ownership with the Dodgers, and she ends up coming in. She had her caretaker with her. She was in a wheelchair at the time.
Okay.
And the Dodgers had been struggling. We couldn't score any runs, and in a homestand. And Bob Daly had invited her to come, to the game. And she strolls in at the bottom of the first inning, and the Dodgers went out and scored 5 runs in the bottom of the first inning. And Bob says, "Liz, I don't know what you're doing tomorrow night, but I'm going to send a limo for you."
keep coming. We're going to score a bunch of runs. So you're there.
So, I have all kinds of these stories. Tom Hanks had a suite. I don't know if he still has a suite at Dodger Stadium, but I'd always drop in on him. What a pleasure. What a great guy he is. So, there's untold stories. It's just, it's really been, an incredible experience. I would have never thought that I would have run into all these people in my life.
There's a real appreciation, I think, that actors or entertainers in some respect, musicians in some respect, you made a difference a little while ago when we were talking, how they appreciate the live audience. You appreciate the live audience. I think one of the major differences, though, actors, of course, aren't in front of a live audience unless they're doing a play, unless they're on Broadway. There's a difference. And you get a different reaction every night. I can make them laugh. I can make them cry. I can do all of these things. The difference from an athletic standpoint, and like I said a moment ago, you can get booed. You can get booed sometimes at home, and more often than not, a Bruce Springsteen is never going to get a boo. They're going to say Bruce, they're going to go boos, but they're not going to boo him. And I think most entertainers appreciate the fact that an athlete has to go through a different kind of judgment in front of the audience. There's a chance for Caesar to give you a thumbs up, but you may get a thumbs down as well.
We had, I think, the best of both worlds here. We had a support group, our fan base, that treated us like family because of our relationship. And they didn't send us off to the room and say, "Don't come out until you got this thing straight." They pretty much said, "Okay, going through a bit of a tough time here. They'll come out of it. They have a track record. They always do. So let's just treat them with a little TLC."
Yeah.
We did not get booed. We did not get booed. I mean, did we get booed? Not like you think we got booed. Okay. They might go, "Oh, that wasn't so good. Oh, boo, I don't like that." But no, they didn't boo us off the field. They never did. And when you get booed on the road, that's like getting cheered at home.
Agreed.
And so, our fan base treated us like family, and we had, I think, a mutual benefit from all of it. They supported us in droves. We gave them World Series. We gave them performance. We gave them entertainment to the point where we have generational Dodger support that goes back 50 years. We entertained those families back then, and they took their kids to the game, and then their kids took their kids to the game. And we have generational support to this day. And
Yep.
you can trace it back to the families that are still there, and I still run into them. We are baseball fans, Dodger fans, because of you guys.
Yeah.
And that is as good as it gets for me. It
Yep.
beats an award. It beats an interview, anything. The fact that you were able to pleasure these people, not only in the moment, but over a course of time, that gives their entire family something to talk about and revere. It's just an incredible feeling to be able to do something like that.
Go ahead,
Hey,
Bob.
Bought to lunch. They reckon.
Cutting out.
Pardon me?
You're cutting out. I can't hear him.
Yeah, we're losing you, Bob.
Hey, I want everybody to see this.
Okay, there we go. Now I can hear you.
Anyway, every time we go out to lunch, baseball. Yeah.
You know what he's saying, Ron?
No, I can't hear him.
Okay.
He's cutting out again. I don't know what it is. Maybe
Your
yeah, I got the book thing, but are you covering your mic at all?
No, I'm not. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, well, you're okay now.
Okay, but
No.
lunch.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
No.
Intermittently, you're cutting out.
Yeah. Hey, Ron, do me a favor. You talked about the World Series and some of the things like that. Let's talk about 81. After going to 3 World Series and losing each and every time, what was different when you guys go into the series itself? I mean, the Phillies, the Pirates. Who else have you had to beat to get there? The Mets. Just amazing. Pretty good team here.
I think we just felt that we were destined to do it. Whatever you want to lay on what happened in 1978 happened. Should have been ours, didn't happen. We knew that the time running as far as the infield being together was running out. And because we were all getting older and they had a new group of players coming in that they really wanted to insert. So time was getting short.
Yeah.
And, we fell 2 games behind in 81. And I remember getting on the plane coming back to Los Angeles, and I got on the bus, and a lot of the wives were on this trip. And when I walked on, there were a lot of wives who were kind of down in the dumps. Understood,
Sure.
So were we. So I remember seeing a bunch of them, and I said, "Okay, ladies, let's not get too down here, because next week you guys are going to be shopping back in New York City. Okay, we're going to be back here." And I don't think we got down. We were disappointed, but we felt like, hey, we're in this. All we have to do is just start putting something together. And I was confident. I didn't talk necessarily in the same way about it with the players, but in the moment, I wanted to just kind of, hey, this isn't over with yet. We're going to be back here. We're going to be all right. And, then, we had really 3 incredible 1-run games in Dodger Stadium, and got back on top. And then, fortunately enough for us, we had a blowout game in Game 6, and all is good. It would be another historic game in the fact that it was the last game that the fabled infield would play together. Davey Lopes was going to be the first one to leave. Steve Sachs would take his place the following year and become Rookie of the Year. And we would, the rest of us would play one more year before then it officially broke up, the whole thing.
Right.
And it was a big moment for all. Finally accomplished, what we had set out to do each and every year, and etch ourselves in Dodger history the way that we should have. It was an incredible 10-year period for success and success at the turnstiles. We were setting major league attendance records, as I mentioned earlier. So it was a very, very special time for Dodger baseball. And we had carved out our own personal history and tradition within the organization.
Yeah, there's so many things, I guess, just from just the series itself, that game 3, the home win in Los Angeles, because it was a 2-3-2 series, and you lose that, it's pretty much done, right? But you didn't, and you fought back. Close game, you said they were all one-run games, and just building momentum on each and every one of those, getting yourself back into the series, tying it eventually, taking the lead, and then going back and fulfilling the promise that every wife there that was on the bench was to spend a couple of bucks there on Fifth Avenue. That was a nice little promise that you made. I hope that didn't cost you specifically too much, although it was well worth it. I'm teasing.
Look, I didn't think that really anything other of it than just how I felt about it. Come on, girls, we're gonna be okay. Don't fret. We're gonna come back, and it's gonna be okay. And we really kind of had a special relationship with the wives too, which was something that I'm gonna heap a lot of praise on my wife for doing. She united the family of Dodger wives, got them involved in all kinds of charitable stuff, and we had fashion shows and that included the entire team. Vince Scully even was part of our fashion shows. We raised money for a needy bunch of young women in the area, and became kind of like a 10-year program, it seemed like. But the Dodgers fully participated. The O'Malley family, Fran did a great job of putting something back into the mainstream, and got the wives involved, and it was a really fun thing to do.
Well, not only that, but when you make her happy, whoever she is in your life, and she wants to be a part of the business aspect of it, and notices that there's a difference that you can make in raising money for charities, or whether it be just a well wish in the community. That has to be an added benefit. And have everybody come together in just the right way, because there can be some times in other organizations that you've been with that maybe they don't get along so well. But the fact that they all have a common goal and it helps you, and then obviously with the World Series ring at the end of the year, that's a great place for any athletic endeavor, football, basketball, baseball. What was that like with you, with Fran, just early starting out? And not only does she embrace it, but she's really good at it, right? And helping others to feel good and to want to be a part of the organization and its history.
Yeah, well, the O'Malley family certainly appreciated it. It certainly helped, with their standing in the community. She did the same thing when we went to Chicago with the Cubs. We had another bunch of things that we got the Cubs involved with. I think it was Cubs Wives for Cubs Care. She made a huge improvement in their relationships with how things were done as well. So Dallas Green and the Cubs organization, totally got behind it, and we had events at Wrigley Field, black tie events during the summertime for charity events. Got all the wives involved in participating and helping out with putting it together. So major kudos go out to her for really making a difference along the way in both organizations.
Yeah, and then you finish in Oakland. Talk a little bit about that. I mean, I know every player wants to go one more year, one more time, and you get to go up north. I've got the picture of you here. You're wearing number 11. First time we haven't seen you in a 10. But just a little shout out here for Oakland.
You know, obviously, you know, I'm 39 years old at the time, and you know, things are changing. You know, I'm not asked to play every day anymore. You know, I am still under contract with the Chicago Cubs, and they felt it was you know, time to do something, and we did. And Tony La Russa called me in the winter, and you know, we had a talk about, you know, my opportunity, and he told me to bring a first baseman's glove to spring training. He said there would be an opportunity there to play first base, DH against left-handed pitching, and spell Carney Lansford at third base, you know, when necessary. He said you might be able to get into, you know, about 125 games, the way he saw it. And so I thought, okay, that really sounds like a the best opportunity I'm going to have, and rightfully so. You know, I had at the end of the last season, when we made our last trip into Cincinnati, Pete Rose was the manager, and I got to talk with Pete behind the batting cage one of the nights, and I said, Pete, can I I need to talk to you for a few minutes about something that I want your opinion of. And I told him, I said, look, things are winding down, you know, what do you see? You know, am I hanging on for no good reason, or do I still have an opportunity to make something good happen? And he was on my side of the plus side. And he said, yeah, he says, I don't see it. You've got plenty to offer here still. You know, stay with it. You know, Johnny Oates, a guy that I played with and against, catcher and a manager.
Yeah.
It's one of my coaches in Chicago with the Cubs. And it was becoming evident that my manager had other plans for me. And the mention of take a look in the mirror came up. And I know I was upset with it. And I went to Johnny Oates, and we also had John Vukovic, who was a good friend as well. I played against when he was with Philadelphia. And I asked John, I said, should I be looking at myself in the mirror and taking a look that they see? And he said, make them rip the jersey off your back. And he said, you're okay. Don't be distracted by, it's just their way of doing things. And so I went forward. I took the opportunity. I worked with Jim Lefevre, who was an A's coach when I went. Bob Watson was also our hitting coach, who was, you know, an Astro and a Yankee, and really good guy.
Well, Jim was a Dodger when you were just coming up, wasn't he?
Yeah,
right?
Jim was playing, so he was a rookie there, and
yeah.
Switch hitter. He was part of the first switch hitting infield that made Major League history. Gilliam, Wills, Frenchie, and Wes Parker.
Okay. Yeah.
And so that was another thing that Dodgers have that's special.
Sure.
And anyway, I worked with Jim, and then I found out. I said, you know, it's busy over here, but it's not hard. Okay, you're just busy. And, you know, because you're taking throws from everybody in the infield, and you got some bunt plays to make, and, you know, you're taking throws from the pitchers to hold guys on. But, you know, it's not playing third base. You know, it's not the same. And so it's where guys go to when there's no place else to go. All due respect to first basemen. Nothing intended there.
Yeah.
It's also, you know, a guy that, you know, is at the end of his career. They used to try to ship him off the American League so they could DH. Now you've got a universal DH, so you don't need to do that anymore.
Right.
But it was that place that guys would go to at the end of their careers. A lot of guys did that. And so anyway, they had given this position to a young player, and Mark McGuire was
Yeah.
groomed as a backup for, in the moment, Carney Lansford. He really went into spring training looked at as, a guy that probably wasn't going to make the team. He's going to go back to AAA or wherever. And so there wasn't anything that I remember about spring training that Mark did or didn't do. But the first baseman, and sorry that I can't remember his name off in the moment, but he struggled the last 2 weeks of spring training and couldn't get anything done. And then the 2 weeks of the beginning of the year did the same thing. And they ended up sending him out. And this is the time that I thought I was going to have an opportunity now to play a lot of first base. And they opted to go with Mark McGuire. Now, I'm not going to tell you that that was the wrong decision, because it wasn't. Mark ended up hitting 33 home runs at the All-Star break and didn't play the first 2 weeks of the season, and ended up hitting a rookie record 49 home runs for his rookie year. Okay. He would go on to hit 500 plus home runs. So it was the right decision to make. And it just was the kind of the hammer that was thrown down on me, because it wasn't going to now open up an opportunity for me to play more. And so I wasn't playing much. I played a few games at third base. I played a couple games at first base. I DH'd the rest of the time. I think I got 100 at bats maybe by the All-Star break, and they released me. And there just wasn't an opportunity nor a place. All the decisions that they made were the right ones. It just didn't work out in my favor. So that's the time that I decided to step down and not pursue it. I would be playing catch up, and it was a big transition for me to go from the National League to the American League and learn how to strategically go about getting prepared to DH. I struggled with, when do I go ride the bike? How many times, how many swings do I take? How loose do I need to be in the early part of the game? How do you abide your time when you're not playing defense? All kinds of different things that were now something that you learn kind of in your rookie year. I was learning at the age of 39.
Yeah.
And so it was a tough transition for me, and there wasn't a lot of room there. So I had a few good games, but other than making a consistent contribution, it wasn't available.
Very interesting. But the perspective of Bob, let's see if we got your sound ready to go. Go ahead, Bob.
Pardon me?
Go ahead. I know you had some questions earlier. Let's see if your sound is better now.
I think the hearing's off.
Okay. If it's not the hearing, it's the mic. We won't. I'm sorry.
Well, the mic's got to be something. It's got to be the mic, because he's intermittent. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, that's a shame. Because I know that he has his perspective as well. And, great career though, Ron. Obviously, 17 years. And the neat part about it, you get to be a World Series champ. You got to win the pennant 4 times. One of the things that I wanted to do before we left, there's a picture here on the left, and you've done this 1,000 times, probably 10,000. But I'm watching your feet. I'm watching your leg, your arm positioning. I mean, there's just a certain strategy that everybody has, and this works for me. Ozzie Smith took warm-ups a little bit differently than other guys, because he would flip the ball and he'd go behind his back just like a basketball player might, and he would do all kinds of things. But the basics are fundamentals, and you got to do that all throughout your career. And things that you learned from high school, or whether it be at Washington State or in the Albuquerque Dukes, that got you to the big leagues, and those same things kept you there for 17 years.
Well, it's repetition.
Yeah.
To be quite honest with you, I'm going to veer off here a little bit for a second. One of the reasons why I was a good free throw shooter is because I got locked into muscle memory, and it was the same free throw every single time. I didn't have to change anything. Once I got locked into it, I remembered how I did it every single time, and I would repeat that every single time. I think that's what these guys do in professional basketball as well. Because when you look at a guy like Steph Curry, who shoots, 93% from the foul line career, it's all muscle memory. I'm pretty sure, because I've done it myself, where you go up, you set up, you close your eyes, you shoot, the muscle memory will make the ball.
Yeah.
You can do that. And I'm pretty sure that he is so good at it. He's got this stroke from 15 feet away. Boom, 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 boom. When he misses it, it's like, wow, he missed one.
Yeah.
But it's the same kind of thing. Your footwork has to be impeccable. You have to understand the situation that you're involved in. You have to understand where you're trying to throw the baseball, and you set up and have a direct line to the base that you're trying to throw to. And that's done early by doing your footwork. Yeah. And, being able to read ground balls. I used to have coaches that would say, when you miss one, well, you read the ball real well until the last hop, right? And it is the last hop. So it's appropriate. But you have to set up. And then, of course, I didn't have a great, strong throwing arm, but I had great accuracy. And so mine was pretty much catch and release. And I didn't throw balls away. The errors that I made probably were from fielding. And there were 2 different times I led the league in fielding. I made 9 errors one year. That set a new record for National League third basemen playing in 150 games or more. I led the league in fielding in '84. I had a 60-game errorless streak record going, and tried to make a play that was more difficult than it required, and I messed it up, and then went another 17 games before I made another error. So, I had my moments. Metrics also graded me out. I think my rookie year as being the number 1 defensive player in the National League, and I didn't get any gold gloves for any of that. Today, I under the new way that they do it with metrics, could have won 3 possibly, but that didn't happen. Metrics today puts me in a higher evaluation than I had in my own playing time. I ended up being the number 1 ranked all-time Los Angeles Dodger infielder by WAR. 6 of the 10 years that I played in Los Angeles, I was the number 1 ranked player on my team by WAR.
Yeah.
Nobody knows that. And a lot of things. I first learned about it when Don Mattingly, who was managing the Dodgers at the time, Tim Wallach, a terrific third baseman in his own right, all-star caliber third baseman in the National League, was one of the coaches. And he had asked me when I was working there, he says, "Have you seen all these new metrics that are coming out? They're pretty incredible." And I said, "No, I really haven't had an opportunity to take a look at it." He says, "Well, you should, because you're more valued in today's game than you were in your own." And I said, "Really?" How is that? He says, "Well, just start looking at it, and it's pretty fascinating." So I started digging around, and I found it, and it's available to anybody. It's real easy to find, and not too many people talk about it. But I was even kind of surprised when I started putting together. I said, "Are you telling me that I was the number 1 ranked player on my team for 6 of the 10 years and didn't even know it?"
Yeah.
I knew I was one of the guys, but I didn't know I was number 1.
Well, and you got to negotiate with the O'Malleys every couple of years, Ron. That would have been great information to be able to use to say, I'm due a raise here, sir.
I didn't have to worry about that too much. The only time that I had to really step forward was in 1975. I went to arbitration.
Okay.
And I was the first Dodger to go to arbitration with the club. I had teammates speaking with me about it. He said, "Are you sure you want to do that?" This will kind of rock the boat a little bit, because if you remember back in the mid-'70s, this is really when free agency and arbitration were starting to kick in because of the basic agreement being changed. And so anyway, I said, look, I have made my point clear to the club. I don't want to be a holdout. It's a way of settling our difference. Win or lose, I'm going to go to spring training on time, get ready to play.
Okay.
And so, I had Al Campanis called me the night before the arbitration and say, hey, do you suppose we can settle this? And he says, can't we go back to where we first started? And I said, no, Al, we can't. And I said, this will be a way of resolving our differences, and I'll see you tomorrow. And so we went, and it will be the only and last time that I ever go to an arbitration, because I felt like I got crucified in the negotiation, or at least their version of what is. I felt like I was lucky to have a uniform and a locker at Dodger Stadium. And we presented our side, and then the following day, the verdict was handed down, and I won. And it was maybe a day later that I was at a KTTV luncheon that was honoring the Dodgers, and it was kind of a meet and greet thing. And we were about 2 days away from getting on the Dodger plane and heading to spring training in Vero Beach. And Peter and Walter O'Malley were both at the event, and I acknowledged them from across the room. And when I was ready to leave, ironically, they were leaving at the same time. And we went down the elevator together. And when we got to the bottom, Walter was told by Peter that, Dad, I'm going to go get the car and I'll meet you back right here. And Walter was had a raspy throat back then. He was dealing with throat cancer and had a froggy voice. And all he did was tell me basically how proud he was of me, that I stuck by my guns, and that I did what I thought was right. And he was proud, and it was admirable and everything else. And he says, just do me a favor. He says, don't ever do it again.
Give me one. Oh my goodness.
And I smiled and laughed like I did, and I also took it both ways, because I think he meant it both ways.
Sure.
And from that point on, our relationship changed to the plus side.
Yeah.
I was always, and I was told by Walter that, I was one of his favorite guys, which really meant a lot to me. And I signed the next year, I signed a 3-year contract, which was never given out to a Dodger before. The 2 was the limit. And after 1 month in 1977, when we broke out of the chute fast, went 17-3 in the month of April.
Wow.
I just set a new major league record for runs batted in. I drove in 29 runs in 20 games. And I was the National League Player of the Month, and the Dodgers were rolling. And by the end of May, we were coasting to another pennant. And Peter O'Malley came to me and said, I'd like to sit down and talk to you about a contract extension. And wow. I said, really? 1 month into the second year of a 3-year deal, you're ready to? He says, yeah, I want to give you a 5-year extension. So I had a 6.5-year contract on the table at the moment. And I was covered by the basic agreement of having an approval of a no trade clause. And I had the contract was going to be fully guaranteed with approval of a no trade clause. So I was covered on 2 ends for the no trade, and I had a fully guaranteed contract. 6.5 years, unheard of. It took me through the end of my next contract, 1982.
Wow.
So, wow. I mean, like,
yeah.
I was, what?
Yeah.
And I went home and I said to my wife, I said, I think I have an offer that I can't refuse on the table. And I told her about it, and she said, you better sign that thing right now. You changed your mind.
Don't let.
Yeah, and it turned out to be, the beginning of not the beginning, but the kind of the nurturing of this great relationship that I've had with the O'Malley families, because at the end of my time, Peter and I sat down and talked out what was going to happen, and he gave me his advice, and then I was fully committed, and he was fully committed to make sure that I got to the next place in good shape.
Wow.
And I still have a great relationship with Peter O'Malley.
Sure.
I meet with him occasionally, and we talk about a lot of things. And he was also at my Legends induction, one of the people who spoke off camera and taped, and incredible delivery that he had honoring me. So we still to this day have a terrific relationship, and it reminds me that I got to kind of call him and invite him to lunch again. So looking forward to that. But I'm very pleased that that I was able to have the relationship with the O'Malley family, and they with us as well.
Yeah. Well, great days, of course, and for you, Ron, it's more than just a job. It's more than just a team or an organization that you're with. This is a family, and it hit you certainly a lot better than it does some other guys. But you know what? We're all a Dodger family. If you wear the blue, you're a part of it, and you have certainly received that in so many different ways. I got to ask you one question before we go. Some of the pictures that I took, and I'm going to have some fun with you. Most of them are in Nikes. You're an Adidas guy.
Right.
You did Brooks. You also did Pumas. If you could only wear one of them, and NIL money is on the table now with Washington State in ways that it wouldn't if you were a player today. First of all, what would you wear?
Well, my loyalty is with Nike.
Is it? Okay.
We signed actually the story behind that is that this is one that got away. Nike came to me because I was the only member of the Nike Pro Club at the time on the Dodgers. And this was a select group of people that they had chosen throughout baseball to be a part of their representation.
Okay.
And so we took a cruise at the end of the one season. I don't recall which one it was, late 70s, however. And we had like 6 guys go on the cruise. It was Dwight Evans, Bill Buckner, Jim Sundberg, Dwight Evans, Carlton Fisk, and I think myself. And if I've missed somebody else in that first one, I apologize. It's been a long time since then.
Sure. Yeah.
So anyway, we had such a great trip that, we started spreading the word, and then all the other guys that they incorporated in the club, came the next time around because we had such a great trip. And what happened is that they came to me, and they were trying out their new Nike Air Sole shoe at the time. And they basically asked our infield to participate and try out the shoe. And I think Garvey was with Adidas at the time.
He was an Adidas guy. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So he wasn't interested.
Right.
And so what happened is we pretty much gave them the information they needed about the air sole shoe. And, we were the ones that, were getting the shoes. And so then the next thing that happened is they wanted to incorporate the infield. They wanted to make it an all Nike infield. How cool would that have been if we would have been on that Nike poster, which I have, and have the entire infield for what it did, and be tied to Nike. I mean, we would have had posters. We might have had our own, separate wing over here. Who knows what would have happened? But it didn't happen. Garvey his allegiance was elsewhere. Couldn't make that happen.
Right.
But that was one that got away. But I would say, Nike. We all had our opportunities to wear the shoes, but Nike was the one who first came forward and started adding apparel to it, the shoes, a trip, a supplement payment, which wasn't a great deal back then. But yeah, that's kind of how all that started. It would have been interesting to see how that would have worked if we had been able to do that.
Yes, and I think Puma was big then. Spot build is what the Reds were wearing, the unmarked all black shoes. That's what Sparky had forever. But there was some folks that were just coming into that, and what an amazing world! Just the beginning of the Nike relationship and how it changed sports in so many ways. Even before Michael Jordan was a part of it, they were just a track shoe. They were on all the feet of the Oregon runners, and they turned into something so much bigger and better. And you were a part of all that from the very beginning. It's awesome story.
Well, I actually grew up in Tacoma, Washington, and we had another person. I believe it was Scott Names, who was also a part of Nike from the get-go, and they sold a lot of Nike stuff, and so it goes back a long ways, but it was quite an experience. Really had a great time with it. We had some great trips, probably 5 or 6 years, and this thing grew to, anybody that wanted to wear Nikes wanted to be in the pro club so they could go on the vacation with everybody. We went all over the world, for God's sake. It was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, they took care of their own. The one here on the right, you're wearing Brooks from back in the day. I know Dusty wore Brooks for quite a while, and they were trying to break in, but they really, I don't know if the shoe wasn't as good or whatever. I had a pair in high school. I don't know if they were more or less comfortable than the others. I just didn't know how to compare. But the fact that they were asking you, Nike folks were saying, "Hey, it's a different type of sole. Tell us how you feel. Can you push off? Does it hurt your heel? Does it is the ball of your foot? Can you?" All the balance things that you would need to know. It's
I think we were the founding fathers of the technology that went into making the shoe. And you talk about the Nike Power, Penguin Power poster that I have was also done by Nike. You should be able to find it somewhere. But how is it with these nils that are going around today? The University of Oregon, they got a new uniform every week with all the garb. All the garb that goes with it. If I'm a 5-star recruit football player, I got to have my eyes on Oregon at some point in time.
Well, they mastered, in my opinion, especially a few years ago, maybe when Marcus Mariota was there and they were playing for big time bowl games and conference championships. They would have a Friday night reveal. And all the kids that they wanted to recruit, and all those kids and their friends were all tuning in online to see what the team was going to wear the next day. Are they going to chrome it out? Are they going to wear the matte black helmet with the yellow duck? Are they going to have the green wings or the silver wings and all the different combinations? They really did take advantage of that in a way that was, from a marketing perspective, so unique and original. Sometimes they looked really goofy, I'll have to admit. It's not like Alabama. They've worn the same crimson uniform, and it's the same number, and it's the same helmet forever. Nike decided to do it a completely different way, and Oregon accepted that phenomenon.
Well, you gotta. I mean, Phil Knight gets probably a lot of credit for that. I mean, he's transformed that whole university. I mean, my God, all the money that's gone into all their sports facilities. And, before the Pac-12 broke up and went to different conferences, and in particular the Big Ten, they were in a revenue sharing. That's why all the schools got all their programs built. Oregon's stadium was rebuilt, Stanford's, Cal's, everybody's was rebuilt, state of the arts with all the training facilities that you need. Amazing. And then now you got I don't know how many teams they have, but they have to have a massive majority of putting the uniforms on.
Yeah. They do, and Adidas is in second place. Under Armour is gone from second to third. It's just a very interesting world. Bob, can you hear us? Are you still? Let's try one more time, Bob. See,
you can't hear. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Anyway, yeah, I'm hearing you.
Can't hear him now again.
Yeah, gosh, I'm so sorry about that. We're gonna have to get that all figured out. Well, Ron, I want to be respectful of your time. I want to thank you for it. We could go for another couple hours. We've already gone for a few. I appreciate you giving your insight. There are so many things we didn't even get to touch on, and maybe we can have you back on another occasion. But thank you so much for giving a little part of your life, your Dodger life, your Major League Baseball life, your World Series champion, your World Series MVP, and a classy guy, as Bob has said. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, we've certainly had. And Bob, even though I can't hear you, we thank you for a way we can see you. But special thanks to you, Bob, for just having a buddy of yours, a friend that you've known for decades, and say, hey, you want to be on the show? And for Ron to be able to be a part of that. What a unique experience it's been for all of us.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'm sorry, go ahead.
It was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ron. All right. We want to say thank you to Ron Say and to Bob Case. The show is called The Sports Page with Bob Case. And Bob has so many different friends and colleagues and really family members, if you want to call them that. And we're going to be talking to so many of them throughout the course of the year. Obviously, with the baseball playoffs coming up, maybe Ron will come back and tell us what he thinks of Shohei, Freddie, and Mookie and the rest of the Dodger organization as they get ready for the playoffs. But in the meanwhile, we want to say thank you for participating here today by being a part of the show and watching, listening, and taking part in that. So thank you very much. This has been 100 Yards of Football with Ron Say, with Bob Case. I'm Harper LeBel. I'm saying thank you to everybody